Paolo. I just finished skiing 1,400 miles through Sweden, and I thought I'd do a video on the equipment I used during Vita Bandet. What I wore, what I started with, what I bought during the way, what I sent home, and the equipment I crossed the finish line and rejoined civilization in. So I'll start off with what I'm wearing because, as you can see, it's not exactly winter down here in Skåne in southern Sweden. Originally I wanted to make this video between Thermos and Pulk, where I finished skiing, to do it when there's still snow, to make it feel a bit more real somehow, and before I had forgotten about all my talking points. But I didn't have enough battery in the last couple of days, and most of the time the weather wasn't really cooperating, so I figured I'd do it once I was back in more friendly climates. So I'm going to get all this off before I sweat to death. So, as you see it here and what I'm wearing, this is about as close as I could get to the first day when I started skiing. So here you have my cotton anorak with a fox fur hood. It's a Fjällräven Gutulia, something like that. It's a cotton jacket. I've extended all the zippers so that they're easier to use with mittens on. It's got a big cargo pocket in the front, pockets on the side, and pretty decent sized pit zips. And in case you're seeing this yellow cord on the zippers, that's going to be a bit of a trend. I have this on more or less everything that has a zipper on it. So the Arctic bedding, just anything with a zipper. Trying to grab little metal zipper tabs with mittens on, not a good idea. So this I sent home in mid-March, mid-March, because it started getting too warm and wet, so that goes in the send home pile. It's going to be a pretty big pile. This is a Fanny pack from Throughpack. It's got a fairly stretchy nylon strap, very comfortable. I forgot I was wearing it most days. And yeah, the Fanny pack itself is fairly waterproof. It's X-packed. I keep my Garmin InReach Mini on here. I usually turn it on once or twice a day to send a message, hey, I'm not dead, or maybe check the weather if I'm going to be going through very high country and want to know where to make camp. It doesn't, other than that, didn't really use it. I'd charge it once every 2 weeks or so when I would have access to electricity. So it's just nice to have in case I was ever in a bad ski accident, bad crash, just to know that I can reach it, don't have to go digging through the Pulka if I have a broken arm or broken leg. So peace of mind, and it's so small, I don't really think about it. And then two small items. These little S carabiners. I used to have a big one for my bigger mittens, but I lost that in the last week or so. I think I left it in a cabin at Selka on the northern part of Kungsleden. But these are nice. I clipped them on to the Fanny pack and the skiing harness. Keeps the gloves handy. And these are gripper gloves, gripper sensor gloves by Outdoor Research. It's a gore windstopper glove. It's pretty thin fleece. But yeah, I've used these almost every day of the trip. They're comfortable, I can ski. The touchscreen sensor on them isn't really that good, so I don't really use it that often. I just take them off. They're easy on, easy off, big pull loops. But yeah, nice for being able to be tactile, pretty breathable, very not water resistant at all. So in the rain, no good. But overall, recommend. Gore windstopper with fleece. It's comfortable. It's pretty warm. It's nice when it's a little bit breezy, but it's only maybe minus 10, maybe -5 to about +5. And then with no wind, maybe down to -15 or so. It's pretty good. Saves you from filling your mittens with sweat. So actually, before I do that, my hat. This is a M43 Feldmütze. It's an old, it's a replica of the old German army hat. I couldn't find a wool cap anywhere with these ear coverings that wasn't very expensive, hideously ugly, or had a metal button or something that would touch your skin at some point, or required Velcro or some uncomfortable fastening. I wore this every single day of the trip. The hair on my head is very dark because I never took the hat off or wore a thin buff. My mustache is very bleached, almost blonde from all the sun, and then my beard is about 50-50. But yeah, so 100% wool outside, inside's a thin cotton lining. Not very comfortable when it gets sweaty and then freezes in the morning, but it thaws out pretty quick, and it's less frictiony after 10-12 hours of wearing it straight. So, and it doesn't quite go down to the ears, but it's got this. So when it would get cold or windy from the side, I just pull these down. Covers the ear pretty well, and I'd say it's good to maybe minus 15. Any colder than that, and then wear a balaclava or a buff under this, and that would cover up the ears and keep them nice and warm. This, not great, but it doesn't compromise your hearing so much because it's open from the front, and it's easy on, easy off. So, nice ventilation. Then, in the fanny pack, I have my thin merino balaclava from Sarma, the Finnish company. Make nice stuff. So, it's a pretty decent fit. It's not the warmest, it's not windproof, and I did send this home partway through when I got my Gore Windstopper balaclava from Outdoor Research, and that thing is really nice. It's very hot, so I didn't really wear it that often, but yeah, it worked fairly well. This was decent until I got that, but it's too thin. When it's really windy from the front or the side and your ears are numb, you don't want to wear a hood all the time, or there's still little gaps in there. This is not quite nice enough, and it would always tend to slide off one ear or the other, and then it would always slide down, so not very good. But the fit on top of that, very comfortable, and it's nice to wear on really bright days, so that you're not burning through your sunscreen. It's not too hot, and the white color helps reflect the sun and keep you from getting completely scorched in the sunburn. I'll go through the rest of the fanny pack later. It's lots of small little items from all different categories, but this, very comfortable. I wore it just about every day. I kept all the little things I'd need during the day. Headlamp, balaclava, thin little liner gloves if I was going to take my lunch break. Headlamp when it was early on in the winter and it would get dark early, but I'll get to that later. I want to get the rest of this off first. Want to make sure my feet weren't out of the shot. Don't want to have to do a retake on an hour-plus long video. That would be a bit painful. So, footwear. These are the Lundhog's Guide Expedition BC ski boots with the little BC bar at the front. They're very heavy. I think together it's 1.8 kilos. And for any Americans wearing this, 1 kilo is 2.2 pounds. So you have to do the math, sorry. So they're like 900 grams each, so call it about 2 pounds of boot. So that's very heavy, but they're very comfortable. I've got one blister the entire trip. This is actually my second pair, but I got the second pair from Lundhog's at half price when I showed them how they'd worn out and that I'd actually put them to proper use, and they helped me out when I was in Storlien, and I was right next to their factory in Järpen. So big shout out to Urban at Lundhog's. So leather upper, rubber lower, so they're completely waterproof. You can stand in water all day and be fine up to this line. And then the rest of it, you have to grease it or wax it to keep it waterproof. I did that fairly often in the beginning, but after maybe the third or fourth greasing, then it starts to really like seep into the leather and last a while. So I started out with the leather in the beginning when I got the new ones, and then I sent it home once they started staying properly. So they have a loose inner boot. It's wool. There's a little heel cup. I don't know how well it shows up on the video. So it cups your heel very nicely. You're always pulling like this with the ski. So the fact that your foot doesn't glide up on there, very comfortable. And my feet only got wet once, and that would have happened with literally any boot because I went up to my thighs in slush and got completely soaked. So these were full water. Luckily, I had a second pair of boot liners with me, so I could change out the boot liners and then I could start the process of drying my socks, but my feet weren't completely soaked, or my boots weren't totally soaked, and it was only just below freezing that day. And then the next days, the worst I had was maybe -7. If it had been -30, I would have been in serious trouble though. So I got quite lucky in terms of weather, despite getting unlucky with getting these full of water, which I hardly do not recommend doing. The pants, these are Morna Fiora, I think they're called. Don't really look at the name often. Yeah, there you go. Fioro. It's a gore wind stopper. I got them at Outlet. I would not recommend buying anything Norröna at full price. It will snap your wallet in half and make you cry. But the pants, very comfortable. I had these in -35 with underwear under and pants on top, but I wore these every day except for days when it was so hot I wore nothing except underwear or maybe long johns. It's a gore wind stopper, which a little bit of stretch to it, very durable, and then in like a light snow, I wouldn't bother putting on my overpants. These work just fine. So yeah, these are great. The pockets inside are mesh, which I'm not a big fan of, but it works for ventilating. Zips on every pocket, which I do really like. Most of the time I didn't keep anything in my pockets, just because it would chafe, and then I had the fanny pack as well, so that wasn't really too much of an issue. Plenty of storage space there. But for the video, I have my buff in one pocket, regular red merino buff from Buff. It's got a couple small holes in it that I've had to repair as time has passed, but yeah, usually wear it on here, helps keep you warm. Got the loose collar on the jackets, so this would help seal the heat in. A little bit colder, put it up, cover your ears like that. Very cold, cover your mouth. Super cold, cover most of your face. But I don't like to do this because then you get a lot of condensation there, so most of the time draw the line out about here. Lots of full breathability, keep your face nice and warm, and cover your ears and the forehead. Hat goes down like that. Perfect. And speaking of face coverings, actually, before we do that, finish the pants one thing at a time. If this video seems a little chaotic, it's just because I figured I'd go with stuff as I would use it in terms of accessibility. I wore the same stuff every day. I had the same stuff in my pockets and fanny pack. And then as I get into the actual sled, then it'll be a bit more organized because then each thing is in its respective place. So all the food stuff in one pile, electronics, repair, maintenance, things like that. So this first part will be a little haphazard. Pants, they have vents up front. It's a mesh there. I would have preferred it on the side so you could get a little bit more length. I thought the zippers would chafe me quite a bit, but I almost always wore my long johns, so I didn't really feel it, and didn't really bother me that much. But yeah, ventilate made a pretty big difference. It's pretty low profile, so mesh pockets like that. And then one big side pocket here. I usually like to keep my pockets empty, but on days where the weather was pretty intermittent, I'd keep stuff like the Gore Windstopper balaclava in this side pocket, yeah, just have easy access to it. The bottoms here, it's a zipper on the side, but it doesn't really make that much a difference. The only thing that really matters is that the fabric inside here has a little bit of stretch to it, so it fits more easily over the tops of the boots. And then the pants have a snow lock on them with Velcro, like that. So I could just put it tight around the top of the boot, and I never had snow get into the boot once, and they never slid off. So, great pants. And I mean, I'm still wearing them. I wore them today before I even started this video, and they're fine, and plus 20 if you're not moving around. Moving around, they get too warm. But minus 20, plus 20, it's really nice. Definitely going to be wearing these in the future. So yeah, very light, really compact, good stuff. Let's see, socks. Outer sock is a Smart Wool Mountaineering heavyweight, I think. They're big, they're chunky. I started with one pair, and then I got a second pair later in. Second sock is a Sarma Tall something. It's just a heavy, thick sock from Sarma. They're kind of packed out now, especially right around on the foot area. The top is still pretty thick, but yeah, they go far. It's comfy. It helps a lot with the padding on the front of the boot, that it doesn't bite into the front of your shins. These boots are comfortable, but 10-12 hours of pulling a day, it'll wear on you. So these are good. I probably will replace them and maybe use them in the fall instead. They're a little bit too thin in certain places now. And then, last but not least, normally I'm wearing a plastic bag, a BBL, 5-liter kind of see-through plastic freezer bag. You can use anything you want. Once I use it, whatever you fast. There we go. So I wear a plastic bag, goes up to about here the whole day. And it stops the sweat you make in your feet from going into your boot. And when you take your boots off at night, all the moisture in there will freeze solid. And you put on your boots in the morning, and they're stone cold. And like you literally can't even lace them because they're so frozen solid. You have to pull your boots up beforehand or even sleep with them. So if you wear the plastic bag there, it's a very clammy feeling, but it keeps the other two socks that were on top of this one dry, and keeps your boots much drier. They still get a little bit wet from the outside if it's warmer, and when it's consistently going to be above minus 10 or so, then I don't bother with it. It's not worth the hassle. I carry the spare liners. So yeah. But this is a Smart Wool Tall Mountaineering liner. It's comfy, goes up to here. It's got a little bit of padding in the front, at the heel, and then it's fairly thin on top. So it cushions well, and then it doesn't chafe. So it works fine. Okay, now I'm not soaking all my clothing with sweat. I still have to wash everything, but it'll be fine. These are the DeVold thin long johns. I don't know which one they're called, but it's I think the thinnest ones they make that's not mesh. And I had these all last summer and almost every single day this entire winter. They're thin, they're light, they're comfy. They're still not stretched out at the bottom. There's no zip at the front, flap at the front, which could have been nice, but it's just another failure point. There's one or two small holes here. That was a little bit bigger, but they're still in great shape. I'll patch those once I wash them now, and I'll use them until they're in tatters. So maybe another Vita Band again. Under there, it's icebreaker underwear. These are fine. I had one pair of underwear the whole trip. after 10 days, they'd be a little bit funky, but I can never smell them. I'd wash them and then put them back on when I had access to a washing machine. They're worn a little bit thin on the bottom, but after, you know, almost 1,500 kilometers, I'd be surprised if they weren't, but still pretty much no holes. Underwear is overrated. You only need one pair. This is a old mesh half zip, I think it's called. It's a very thin wool net, so it's pretty much see-through. Reinforced I've been in Sweden too long, my English is dying. Anyway, reinforced ends of the sleeves and collar. I very rarely have it zipped all the way up. I find it gets a little bit uncomfortable sitting on my Adam's apple, so usually more right about there if it's all up at all. Quite often I'd ski with it. I'd ski completely open, and it's really nice for ventilating. I overheat very quick, so having something that's very thin, doesn't absorb moisture when I'm soaked in sweat going up hills, pulling the sled. Yeah, works great. And there's a couple tiny holes in it here. I'm not sure why it's on the right side. Maybe because I have a tendency to look left, or maybe emotion. I don't know. Left side is fine. A couple pinholes here where one single net has opened up. Still fine. Yeah, and that's all I'll be taking off for now. Oh, right. Sunglasses. These are Julbo Explorer 2s with prescription lenses and transition lenses. So they go from a category 2, which is like regular sunglasses, to a category 4, which is very, very dark. I had to choose between the transition lenses or mirrored. There are some days when I've been skiing into the sun or this icy surface, I really wish I had the mirrored lenses, because even when they're at the full dark level, there's still a little bit too much glare. The mirror would really help cut that. But seeing as, you know, I need glasses, I'm very nearsighted. Being able to wear these into the evening, and then in, you know, May when it's still bright at night, being able to wear these until I pull into my sleeping bag, because they're at their lightest setting, then it's really nice. You can still get snow blind, or just your eyes exhausted from staring at white all day, even when it's not that bright out. So for me, it's nice having that option. Didn't get any headaches the entire trip, except when I got food poisoning and was throwing up all night. But yeah, worked well. Little strap on the back for keeping it tight, and then these little side shields on here really cut the glare down for me. On the side, I got almost no light leakage. Yeah, worked great. Totally recommend. Very expensive, you're gonna cry, but Julbo's a nice company. They got good customer service and warranties and whatnot, so I'm happy with these. Let's see, what else? Alright, now that I've got all this off, now I can get back to the fanny pack. So, headlamp. I carry 2 headlamps, but this is the one I use first. It's a Silva RC. It's got a bright mode, slightly darker mode, strobe. I hate the strobe, I wish it wasn't there. And red light. It's rechargeable, so it's pretty simple. And I'd use this until the battery wore out, and then I'd switch to my Black Diamond Storm, which has the lithium batteries in it. And that lamp's got a bit more oomph to it, but this would help me not use a bunch of batteries for no reason. These are merino liners from Sarma. They were nice, but I'd used them for a couple of years, and they're wearing out. You can see one of the patches here, and then fingertips are wearing out. Same on this one. They're nice, they're light, they're not that cheap, but with all the fingertips wearing out, it was time to get a new pair, and I got those later on. I'll show those further in the video. Sent those home. Here we have skin and ski wax from Coltex. It looks kind of like a deodorant tube. It's got a little felt on top, and then I'm pretty sure they just went to a deodorant company. And then it has glide wax inside that you can screw up, and then you can rub that on the skis, and then use the felt to rub it out, so it helps give you better glide, and keeps the snow from sticking to it, which a couple times was really key. I wouldn't have been able to move at all. The skis normally weigh about like 900 grams each. With snow, they can weigh 4 or 5 kilos or more, so very convenient. I don't have it here, but normally I keep a glasses polishing cloth in one of these pockets. I keep a little Plackers flosser in here, so clean your teeth, you get some beef jerky or bits of fruit stuck in there. Oh, nice to have that handy. And it's always below freezing, so you don't get bacteria growth. Lip chapstick. And sunscreen. I use Dermatone Frostbite Fighter. Comes in these little tins. It's nice not having the tube. The tubes can kind of freeze, and I'm terrified that I'm going to crash too hard or sit down on the fanny pack, and then the tube's going to splat open and just fill my fanny pack with oily sunscreen that's never going to come out. Little tube like that. Oh. Little tin. Shake it upside down. Nothing comes out. Just rub your finger in there. Get some. Easy. These last me quite a long time. I ran out once, but that's because I had 5 days of no wind, no clouds, and constant sun in like late April. So it's that was pretty brutal. But I had to wear all my clothes, and I would just cover my face with sunscreen all the time instead. But even then, it wore out really quick. It's only 23 SPF. I would like 30 or higher, but it works. I'll keep using it. It doesn't take much space, and it's nice to use. Oh, and the front of the fanny pack, it's got this little loose, kind of heavy mesh pocket. I didn't use as much in the beginning. I thought I regretted getting it, in fact. Snow would fill it, and it wasn't really useful. But then I realized it's really nice for just dumping loose snacks into candy, dried fruit, whatever. Just have it in there, and then just be able to graze, just eat, like have a little bite almost constantly. In the end, when I was only taking a break every 2 or 3 hours, then this was really nice to help keep my energy up. And last but not least, the most important thing in my fanny pack, the Biko Extreme Nose Gear Cheek Protector. This thing is my favorite piece of small equipment, and I absolutely love it to death. So, as you can see, this little guy covers my nose, my cheeks, and for the most part my ears. I wish it did cover that, but I guess then it wouldn't be as easy to fit for everybody. But this thing is amazing. It's not very insulated. It just stops the wind, and that's all it needs to do. It's pretty close to your skin, and yeah, normally wearing a balaclava, you get it steams up your glasses. You get the big icy patch in front. Or if you're wearing like your buff over your mouth, it fogs up your glasses, and then the cloth gets really wet and then freezes, and it really sucks. Skiing into the wind, it's horrible. There's no good solutions, but this thing is absolutely amazing. I wore it every time there was a headwind, even like -10, just not having numb cheeks or numb nose. It's really nice. You can pull it down a little bit, and with the glasses, it creates more or less a completely tight seam. I have goggles with me. I never use them because with this, I could like ski into the wind, and no snow would get into my glasses with like the tight seal I have on the bottom, and then the hat pulled down just like that. Buff up to here, and then I have a full face mask somewhere. But yeah, this little guy, fantastic. I've had this thing for 2 winters now, so this thing has gone 2,000 kilometers, maybe more. There's a little wear and tear where some glue is coming loose, but I can just re-glue that with some super glue in 5 minutes, and it'll last another 2,000, I bet. This is a great product. And it costs maybe 15 bucks, 12? Amazing. All right, other important items. Skis. These are the Åsnes Amundsen from. Very serious looking Roald Amundsen. He looks about 80 years old there. He's actually only like 45. The guy was very weather worn, just like these skis. Rottweiler BC bindings, not the Magnum. Magnums are a little too wide, and you don't really need them. The skis, great shape. There's one or two places where the top is separating from the steel edge a little bit, but I don't think it's too big of a problem. I'm going to talk to Åsnes about it. I think the solution is just fill it with epoxy and just sand it down. Not much else. It's a waxless ski. So they've got these scales on the bottom. Really like the scales. It's great on ice where you just destroy climbing skins. And yeah, when it was a very light load or very good snow, then I just use these, no climbing skins. There's a couple of big, decent sized scratches in here. One here, one there, but otherwise, great shape. I think this is the most popular ski for Vita Bandet, and I get why. They're really nice. They're light, like I forget the weight. I think it's like, it's under two, it's under like 800-900 grams of ski, so it's about the same as the boots. Good turning. These are 187 long, so 15 taller than me. Good stuff. And I don't have a ski bag. I don't use one, and I don't use like the ski straps either. You're only going to use them on the first day and the last day when you're coming to or coming from the trip. So instead, I put a piece of cardboard between them, and then I wrap them in duct tape because I have duct tape with me, and the cardboard is a leftover from food packaging, and you just buy just a little box of something at the last in Overquilt, and then when you get to Thermos or Pulk or wherever you're getting off, then you just slap that on there, boom, done. I have duct tape with me for repair, so it's a weight-efficient way to carry your skis together. These are the Åsnes tin poles. I hate these poles. The pole itself was fine. I even wrote that in my trip review that I'll be posting along with this. And the day after I wrote that, the last day of the trip, 10 kilometers to go, the pole material sheared off inside the adjustable bit. I'll show that in a second. So, yeah, don't like these poles. The baskets, terrible design. One of these is on its last legs. I think it's the other one. Yeah, here you go. I started with baskets that were like a bit used, and then I've been through 3 baskets after that. One of these is damaged, one is not. My spare basket is also damaged, but you can see here. Oh, look at that. Terrible. And then the failure point is right in there. So you can't reach it with a needle and thread. So once this starts to go, it just gets worse and worse, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's a terrible design, and I'm going to complain to Åsnes profusely about that. Actually, yeah, might as well show. So that's supposed to be a complex little twisting mechanism. One of these things is not like the other. So this sheared off and it's stuck inside the pole. So it's totally useless now. It's stuck at 155 centimeters and I have to just duct tape it together. I'm getting new poles anyway. Maybe Thomas Ulrich's super expensive Lecky poles with nice baskets and nice grips. Actually, speaking of grips, before I put these away, these are very short grips. So, hand through the strap there. Yeah, the fact that this handle starts here and ends here, very stupid. So I had to wrap this in hockey tape. So it's much more comfortable to grip like that. Otherwise, your fingers are grabbing cold metal, and it's also that these 3 fingers are grabbing like that, and then these 2 like that, which gets very uncomfortable after a couple hours. So if your ski poles don't have a very long grip, put some hockey tape on there. Duct tape works in a pinch, but the hockey tape lasts a lot longer and it's more comfortable and less sticky on the gloves. So, in conclusion, don't buy Åsnes poles. Buy Åsnes skis for sure, but don't get the poles. Right. Ah, yes. most of the trip I had a really big plastic S carabiner for my mittens, and I would keep that clipped into the ski harness. But like I said, I left them in a cabin, I think Selka on Kungsleden, so I had to start using just a regular carabiner instead, which is a lot more hassle when it's cold and windy out. These are the Hestra Extreme Army mittens. Bit of a silly name, I guess, but they work fine. It's a synthetic insulation, leather outer, and then some polyester backing. I wish they were Gore-Tex, but the Gore-Tex gloves they have don't have a removable liner. These ones are velcroed in around the edge, so it's good. Easy to dry and change. They kept me warm. I didn't really have any problems. Coldest we had was minus 32, but then I was sitting in my tent because I had a rest day and my leg really hurt, so I couldn't really move much anyway. It's got a strap like this. I wish this adjusting strap was a little bit larger, or there was like a little T bit at the end, so it was easier to grab with the other mitt. A little bit poor design. And then it's a strap there. If it was really windy, I'd do that, or if I was digging in snow. But otherwise, I didn't really use this much. Kept it slightly closed, but they're easy on, easy off. You can work them with mitt. You can work them with the other mitt. Yeah, for me, this is more important, that they're easy to take on and off when you're doing small fiddly stuff like adjusting straps or trying to untie a knot, than that they close really well. I have the idiot straps here. I use them twice, but when it's really windy and you're trying to do something, you don't want to drop your glove and see it suddenly flying away with shooting stars playing in the background. Okay. Only complaint I have about them is that you see the seam here on both of them is going. I don't know, because of skiing with the poles all day. So not very good design. Gonna talk to Hestra about that. Very stupid place to put seam for gloves meant for skiing. Come on, people. It's 2021. Get with the program. Actually, you know what? I'll take the Pulka later. Once the sled is empty, I'll talk about the sled. So now, the main event, the juicy bits. So this is a Black Diamond Evac 7 shovel. I like it. I don't really have too many complaints about it other than it's heavy. I've had one or two small problems with the handle in the past, but I didn't have it this trip. Don't know why. It's a big head. You can remove it so it fits in a backpack, or you can put it so you can use it as a hoe, like that. I didn't dig any bivouacs this trip, so no need for that. One thing I really do like, though, it's a D handle, so you can put your mitten in there and grab it. None of the having to death grip it like a T handle, when you can only do that. And then you've got the post in the middle in the way. That's not a very good design. So the D handle, good. And then also, very tall. So digging, you don't have to bend over and blow out your back when you've been skiing all day and pulling the sled. So this long handle, very nice. It's built pretty loose. You can hear it rattle. I thought that was just cheap craftsmanship at the beginning, but then I realized it's actually so that when you get snow and ice building up between the layers, snow and ice on there, it flattens it down, but it's so that it can work even when it's fully jammed up. In case you're wondering about the weight, I've added hockey tape to it so that when I'm grabbing the metal like that, it's not as cold, a little better grip, and even with mittens on, bare metal conducts heat way too well. So having a little something to insulate works wonders. Alright, this is a Vita Arctic bedding. I think they're out of business. They don't make stuff anymore. As far as I've seen, everything is either sold out and doesn't look like it's going to be restocked anytime soon, and I can't find any information about them, so I'm just assuming out of business. I got this used from Mittens, who I met last year doing Vita Bandet, and sold it to me, basically totally unused, so very happy. Vita has 2 pockets in the middle and 1 in the back, and all the other Arctic beddings are either very heavy and have pockets, or are about the same weight as this and have no pockets. So it's very nice. Yeah, you have one big Velcro pocket here on the end, And then you have two smaller zipper pockets here. And yeah, so it's just a couple socks in here now, but normally this is my food bag for the day. I'd keep snacks, candy, dried fruit, jerky, some sweet potato kaka in there. And yeah, so just a little cheap dry bag. My very very well used and not very good shape camera tripod. It's a Joby Gorilla Pod Light. Legs pop off really easy now because they're all broken, so not great. But use this for setting up time lapse or shooting a video or something of that myself, so it's fine. No complaints. I wish I had one that worked better, but it's pretty light for what it does. Works. Hilleberg 2-person wind sack. I didn't use it at all. This was a really terrible, mild winter, but if you're going out in February, I would definitely bring this, and even into March, just because if it's really cold and it's really windy, and someone's got a blister and you need to put a patch on it in the middle of the day, it's really good to have a wind sack so you can crawl inside. Or if your tent gets damaged or blows away, then you have something you can use for shelter. It's a ½ kilo, and once I realized how warm the winter was, and it wasn't going to get probably wasn't going to get cold properly again, no -30s in April, I sent it home along with a couple other things. So this went home pretty early. I wouldn't recommend that. This is a really nice safety net for if you're injured and can't get the tent up, or it's just stupidly windy and someone's really cold, but I'm alone and I felt I was competent enough and I can take a bivouac, so I sent it home. Empty. This is my ½ liter Nalgene bottle and a little foam cozy I made with duct tape. This is my tea bottle. I pretty much didn't drink water at all during the day. I just drank tea. I'd put a tea bag in the morning, and then I just drink it as I went through the day, and I fill it up from a water bottle or thermos. And then these little ½ liter Nalgenes are really nice. You can fill them with boiling water. You can put them in your boot, and then you can preheat your boot before you put it on. When it's -30 and your boots are frozen solid because you've been sweating in them and you haven't been using plastic bags, or the plastic bags have leaked. This is really nice. Use it to dry my gloves when they got totally soaked in the wet. Fits in a sock. And then during the day, if your hands are really cold and this is empty, you fill it with boiling water from your thermos and just hold it like that, or you put it inside your jacket and just kind of wrap your fingers around to keep it warm. And then once it's a little bit cooler, you sit down and you have yourself a nice drink. Insulation wrap. When it's cold, this works fine. Once you fill it with boiling water, the plastic expands a little bit, and then you can't get it out. So if you're going to do any preheating, make sure you pull the bottle out before you fill it. But this thing, great. If it's very cold, or if you're a very cold person, or it's January, or just it's going to be freezing, maybe bring 2 of them so you can heat both boots at once. I have a pretty good routine in the morning, so I think I'm fine with 1. It was never really an issue. Oh yeah, about the boots. Never had cold feet the entire trip. Maybe for 5 minutes in the morning one day when it was -25, and after what's it called? I'd forgotten to put my VBLs one morning, and then the day and I'd been sweating all day, and the next day, then they were pretty cold in the morning. But if you stick to your routine, you're fine. Thermos. This is the ultimate insulation something thermos from the company Thermos. It's a lot of thermos right there. Great design. I've used the big King thermos they make in stainless steel. It's really big, it's heavy, it holds heat great, but then the lid design is terrible. But this is really smart. So you've got plastic cap with plastic ridges on it, so it screws off easy on and off, even with mitts. I've added hockey tape to it, so it kind of looks like a candy cane, so it's a bit easier to grip, and yeah, works fine. I kind of wish I put some matches in under this, so then when it gets icy or your gloves are all iced over, then you can grab it and it gives you a bit more grip. Doesn't add any weight or volume, maybe 10 grams. But yeah. And then inside, the lid is 2 parts. So if you just want to pour something, easy. And then you close it. Super easy. Yeah, just so much easier to use than other thermoses. No button to push that can get gunked up or opened by accident. Never had this thing leak or drip anything. And then if you want to fill it, you can open up the bottom, and then you get a pretty decent size hole. It's 900 milliliters, so it's about a liter, close enough. And then there's a silicone ring on the bottom so that it stands pretty stable, doesn't slide, and also helps it stop if you drop it down a slightly icy face. A little silicone ring on top, I guess, for grip, but with the hockey tape, it's not really that necessary. So this guy, great. Still no dents in it. Knock on wood. This is my down jacket. This is a Mountain Hardware Sub-Zero parka. I got it used for 1,000 crowns. It's not lightly used either. There's a couple places like the down is leaking out now. I had to put tenacious tape and sew some seams, so it's pretty worn. It's got another couple seasons in it before the seams before it's more apparent than jacket and before too much down leaks out. But it's nice. Any down jacket will really do. This one's like 950 grams, I think. And after when I do eventually replace this, I'll probably get some really fancy 900 Woolpower PhD down jacket thing, or something really nice that'll last me for 20 years. But for 1,000 crowns, which I think right now the crown is like 10 crowns to the dollar. So for $100, this is really good. 2-way zipper, big hood. Hood's detachable, which I don't really like. It's never flown off in the wind, but this works fine. It fits. I can wear all my clothes at once, and then this still fits over. It's a little tight, but it works. Pockets here, and then a little. There it is. Oh, nice! I finally found both items. So hand warmer pockets. If your hands are really frozen, you can put them in like that. I usually would put them inside my jacket and warm them up in my armpits, but this works fine. There's a little mitten hook in the pocket here, and then a compass from Sunto. I didn't use this the entire trip, not once. You'll see the compass I used every day that's stuck on the chest harness, but I used that, my phone, and then my map, and then the paper maps. So like big compass like this, I'd always carry a spare compass, but the little one I have, so much better. But I kept it in my down jacket pocket because it's away from electronics. There's metal in both ends of the Pulka in the bags, so I don't want to keep it close to there and get it demagnetized. So nice to avoid that. And then in my down jacket is where I keep my very cold weather items. So I was wondering where they were. Before this video, I was looking everywhere for them, but then I realized they were where they were on the last day. So here you have from Beko Extreme Nose Gear, the Phantom full face mask. So it's not as practical or as comfortable as the cheek cover, but when it's really brutally cold, I actually had to wear this on the first day of the trip because I was minus 20 and I had a headwind and my beard wasn't so big then, so I was very exposed to the cold. But this thing, really nice, full face. There's a little hole here for your mouth that's kind of covered over, but I feel like this is not big enough. It should be bigger and there should be a larger overhang for more protection but better breathability. Maybe make like the nose cover and the mouth hole into one, so like a big beak. And it's really fun because people think you look like Jason from Friday the 13th, or Leatherface, or whatever his name is. But it stays on pretty well. I've added the stereotypical yellow cord on the back, so if I get too warm, I just and then pop it back on if the wind picks up, or I'm taking a break and eating. It's kind of hard to eat through this. You can't even spit either if you got a bad taste in your mouth, so it's kind of frustrating. And then I have the lovely and wonderful Gorilla Balaclava from Outdoor Research. I actually had to order this from the US and then have a friend forward it to me because Outdoor Research doesn't ship internationally, and no one's selling this outside the US, so I'm actually thinking about maybe buying in a couple of these and reselling them here. It would be pretty nice because this thing's great. Score wind stopper, and then there's Velcro here, and then here and here. So it comes in a couple different sizes, and the fit isn't perfect on anybody, but it's really nice not having to pull it up and over your head constantly, and having be able to adjust it if you want big face or very small face. So you can have it kind of relaxed fit like that, and it's fleece on the inside, gore wind stop on the outside. It's really nice. It's totally windproof. It's comfortable, and it fits in your pocket. For what it is, it's pretty light. And then if it's really bad weather, combine that with like some kind of face cover. It has a separate face cover you can slap on there, but I'm not too big of a fan of that. It's like mesh in front of the mouth, so it can fog up or ice over after maybe about a half hour. So I'd stick with this, and then a looser fit on this, and that's pretty comfortable. I've only had to wear this a couple times, but when I had to wear it, it was really nice. Being able to wear this and not have a hood. Hood kind of makes you look down all day. This, I'd wear this with no hood, or hood if it was very cold, and I could still turn my head and look around and not have the tendency when you've got the cinch straps down all the way. So, good stuff. And yeah, I keep these in the chest pockets on the down jacket because if it's cold enough for me to justify wearing these, it's cold enough for me to justify taking out the down jacket and putting it on when I have a break to sit down, eat, drink, or have lunch. So, Velcro pocket on this, it's a good design, it's a good idea, I like it, but I wish the Velcro was the wide stuff. This one is 20 millimeter, I think, and I think I'd want 50, just so it's easier to shove the whole thing in there and just slam it down. You don't have to think about it. There's no trying to get it to close properly, or it doesn't seal right and then starts to open. Put the thick stuff in there. Weight penalty maybe 30, 40 grams, but the time you save, and then the idea that knowing that snow is not going to be filling the compartment, it's worth it. Right. And now the Arctic bedding itself. It's great for what it does. It keeps your sleeping bag and sleeping pad and everything out of your Pulka and ready assembled, and just throw in your tent, hop in, and done. But it really shows that this is designed for an Arctic environment, so Greenland, Antarctica, somewhere where it's cold and dry, not wet. No rain, no wet snow, because this thing is not waterproof worth a damn. This was a really bad winter. I had rain plenty of times, lots of wet snow at -2, -3, and this thing does nothing for that. It wets out quick, and then your stuff is soaked. Some people will pull the wind sack over this, but pouring rain for days on end, that's not a viable solution. So I'm going to be making my own of these, and I'm going to be making it in fully waterproof with taped seam X-Pack and a built-in chair function. I'll get into that later. But yeah, it works. I just wish it was waterproof, but it's like 500 something grams, and for what it does, it's great. So inside here we have quite a few items. There's 3 zips on this, but once you store in the tent, here I have my short skins. So these go on the skis for traction uphill. I ordered a pair of small, thinner mixed skins. These are nylon. Mohair wears out too quick. Mixed skins, nylon's too poor glide. Mixed skins are where it's at. Decent durability and good glide, but they didn't arrive in time, so I had to stick with these. I didn't use them too often later on because the sled was so light, and the snow was so good, but there was quite a few days where I wore these for a couple of days straight because of bad snow and such. And I usually keep them in here, just because then it's easy access during the day. Glasses case. Keep my regular prescription glasses in here. I just throw those on. Little, cord on the back. They broke at one point, so I had to put some duct tape on there. And I have a smaller glasses case that takes up less space and it's a bit more stable, but I figured if I wanted to wear my goggles at some point, this fits my glasses and my sunglasses. But I never use my goggles, so I should have gone with the lighter case, and in the future I will. This is my Patagonia R2 fleece. It's not weatherproof at all. It's not windproof. It's definitely not rain or snowproof, and it gets wet really easily. But for a mid layer, it's super breathable. It's pretty warm. I didn't wear it while skiing that often, or I'd wear it if it was cold but not windy, or warm and a little bit windy, just because it breathes so well and helped me cool down but not get too cold when I stopped. So nice compromise. Decent pockets, zippers on them, and then a chest pocket. I'd usually keep my phone in here during the day if I was wearing it, or always when I was sitting in the tent. So zipper pocket there, keeps it close to your heart, nice and warm. So good fleece. Really just any fleece will do. I just suggest with either your base layer or your mid layer, like this fleece, get a chest pocket with a zipper for your phone. It's very nice. Right, now the good stuff. This is a Western Mountaineering Puma in microfiber fabric. I got it very lightly used for a really good price. Western Mountaineering is currently not making bags because of the pandemic, I think, or they're making face masks for the most part. I wish I'd gotten this in Gore Windstopper, but it wasn't available anywhere for under like 14,000 crowns, which is insane. I got this for, I think, like 4,500 or 4,000 crowns. So 10,000 crown difference, which means you don't get the Gore Windstopper cover. I'll take that. The fabric is pretty breathable. I didn't really have any major moisture buildup from inside, but I use a synthetic Overquilt. I'll get to that later. But it's not very weatherproof. Condensation from the outside. When the Arctic bedding would get wet, this would get soaked. So I'd have to put it inside the Pulka, and I didn't have a waterproof stuff sack for it to begin with. I had to get that one from my friend Paul. So I just have to put it inside a bunch of other stuff that's kind of water resistant, nothing waterproof. But yeah, it's fine. Fabric's maybe a bit thin. I wish it was a little bit beefier. There's a little bit of down leakage on some seams, but overall, it's great shape. Hood, draft collar. Was never cold in this. Alright. Cedar Summit pillow. I sent this home later as well. Didn't really, I didn't really sleep with it, but it's really nice when you're kind of lying down, doing stuff on your phone, writing at the end of the day, eating dinner, just kind of half sitting up when you didn't feel like sitting up straight. But just a regular pillow. Anything will do. I didn't have enough extra clothes to use as like a pillow in a stuff sack most of the time, but in the future I probably would do that. But it's not that heavy, so I thought it was worth the weight in the beginning, but in the future, stuff sack. Get one of those fancy DCF stuff sacks with fleece on the inside. Chair kit. Very, very nice. Being able to sit down at the end of a long day of skiing when your back really hurts and eat dinner. Or do equipment maintenance. This thing is so worth it. The chair kit itself weighs 300 grams, which is kind of ridiculous when you think about the fact that the whole Arctic bedding is like 550, 560. So this is half as much as the entire bedding bag. So when I make my own, I'm gonna have this built into the actual chair. I think it's just an aluminum stay on each side of the bedding bag, and then this one strap that goes down, maybe one strap over the pad to keep it in place. But it's such a simple little design to add. Definitely doing that. I sent this home from Kvikjok because I was panicking that I was running out of snow and running out of time, but I really wish I'd kept it. Thermorest X-Therm Max regular, so it's the rectangular one, no mummy shape. I find the mummy pads, my feet will kind of sometimes slide off the end, especially when I have like a hot water bottle in the bag. That'll end up on the ground, and then it like wets through to the ground, gets the bag wet, and my feet are suddenly not getting warm by the hot water bottle after a long day. But great pad, never cold from the ground. And then Z-Lite, it's just like the regular Thermarest foam pad, the accordion one. Worked fine. I use this as a insurance in case this gets a pop. Trying to patch an air pad in -20. I don't want to know what that's like. I've never had to deal with that. I got no wood to knock on, but yeah. So insurance in case this gets a leak and it's the middle of the night and I'm exhausted. Also just bumps up the R value. This is fine by itself, really, but I'd never go in the winter without this guy. I've also added these little cord loops on the end, shock cord, so that when I fold the pad up, I just pull the cord over there. There's no loose strap to remember where you put or keep track of. It's really easy to open close, but it's too much hassle to just right now, so I'm not going to bother with that. Right, and then this small foam pad. This is just like I bought a cheap foam pad and just cut it up and used it for projects like the insulation for the half-liter Nalgene. So in the beginnings, when I take breaks or lunch, I'd sit down on the sled and I'd have this as a nice foot pad, keep my feet from freezing, sitting in the tent, doing stuff, messing with the stove, or getting dressed, somewhere to put your boots. And then sitting in the tent, I could put my water bottles on here. I could put my pot with food in it while it was rehydrating in hot water, stuff like that. Yeah, and I also cut this so it will fit as a back pad on the H&G Summit pack I have. But when I get to that, I'll show it around. Also, I have now gotten to the point I am overheating, so I am actually going to go change into something a little bit more comfortable. And we're back. Right, now we're actually starting to get somewhere. So, now we have the tent. And also now the bedding bag is gone, which makes for a very nice chair and couch if you're going to take a nap. So it's very nice every break to be able to sit down on something nice and soft and insulated on top of the sled without having a bunch of random stuff sacks are crushing inside. So other big bonus to using that. So this is a Hilleberg Caron 3 in the Hilleberg, the so-called tent condom. Lets you set up the tent and take it down very quickly in bad weather, no fighting to get into a stuff sack. And you keep one of the guy vents, or one of the vent flaps hanging out of the end of the bag, so that when you're setting up the tent in very bad weather, you can hook this onto your Pulka, a backpack, or a set of one stick beforehand, or I usually use a ski if I'm not near the Pulka. So have that, and then you open up the cinch on here, and then you pull out the stakes. So for stakes, I used 6 Hilleberg stakes. It's some shaped aluminum like that, carabiner on the end, hook that onto the guy lines, easy. And then when I take down the tent, then I'd wrap them up like this, because otherwise I'd find if I just toss them in there, lines would get all tangled. It's really not fun to have to deal with that when it's dark and windy and you're really cold and hungry and just want to get inside. So I take an extra 30 seconds, a minute to wrap the lines in before I put them in there. And then I only have 6 of those, and you can't buy individuals, so I had to supplement with 2 plywood pieces I cut with little notches in them like that. So it's easy. You just run that through the guidelines. Simple. These are 80 grams a piece, and the Hilleberg ones are 60. So they're actually, the metal is lighter than the wood. And then I would also use my skis and ski poles as snow pegs. So I'd stick the skis into the snow, about 30-degree angle like that, and the same with the poles. And I'd actually usually use the skis to anchor one end because they were so easy to get in or move around that you don't have to bury the stakes or dig them up when you want to move the tent as much when you're first setting up. So skis would be the first pegs I put in and the last pegs I pull out. If I knew I was going to do a day trip or something, then I'd put the skis on the regular storm lines and then use these on the end, but didn't really do any day trips, so not that important. And then I keep this stuff sack attached to the big one so that the little one doesn't blow away when I pull the pegs out. So that's a neat little trick. And I'm not going to set the tent up because it's a lot of hassle, but I will say one thing though, that every single zipper on the tent has had yellow cord like this added to it. Oh, fish. This little pond next to in case you're hearing the water. So especially like the door zippers like this have had these really big zippers added, so you can just grab it with the big mittened hand and open and close the doors really easily. I had a lot of problems with that last winter, so this is a real lifesaver. But then there's also lots of small zippers on the inner tent, on the outer tent doors, on the vents. I didn't even count, but there's so many tiny little like YKK number 3 or number 4 zippers for the vents, and then like number 5 for the door, and then I think these are like 8 or 9. But all those zippers, when the wind blows, they all rattle, and it's so infuriating trying to sleep. Like the storm outside doesn't bother me at all if I'm sleeping in a snow cave or in like a bivvy or a different tent with no zips or under a tarp, no problem. But these zippers, it's like sleeping next to a machine gun. So even with this, there's still a little bit of rattle. But this is nothing. It's really bad on the unmodified Hillebergs. So this, nice modification. Really simple. Takes a long time to get every single zip done, but it's well worth the time. Especially trying to open up the really tiny ones when it's really cold out to get some condensation out of the tent. Now this is a really heavy tent for one person. The Caron 3 is it's a palace and it's a bunker. It's the tent people bring to the North Pole, the South Pole, Greenland. It's a great tent, but it's with no stakes and no stuff sack. It's 3.7 kilos. I don't remember what all my shelters together weigh. The tent, the bag, the stakes, but it's really heavy. And for one person especially, it's so much. But I didn't have another tent. Ideally, I would have had a Chiton 2 for myself and Paul when he joined me for the whole trip, but I didn't have a Chiton 2, so this is what I had. And when I had a chance to buy Hilleberg for a cheaper price, the Chiton was out of stock, so I had to get this. So there's no choice like no choice. But when you're stuck inside for a couple days and there's a horrific storm outside, you can sleep safe knowing you're in a Caron 3, and there's lots of space inside. I can lie with my feet. I can actually probably stretch out when I'm sitting in the tent or lying down, and I can sit up straight. So it's spacious. It's a perfect 2-person tent in the winter. It's a palace for one. 3 is it's not good. Desperation. I've slept 3 in a Caron once. It's a 3-person tent. It's not made for 3 people. Three midgets maybe. But yeah, good stuff. This I sent home in Kvikkjokk when I got desperate. I skied 5 days with no tent because this was too heavy. All right. Now we can finally get to the actual sled itself. The moment you've all been waiting for. A lot of people probably don't recognize this because it's Acapulco is not that popular, it seems like, in Sweden. It's more for more extreme trips. But I've seen a lot of more people with them in the last year or so. But this is not the standard. This is the Acapulco Extreme. So it's in Kevlar and carbon fiber. So it's a little bit lighter. But they obviously charge a lot more for it. I'm lucky. This one had some aesthetic factory defects, which actually turned out to be more than aesthetic. So I'm kind of annoyed about that, and they're gonna have to redo the carbon fiber coating on the bottom. But I got it for 25% off, so good deal. It wasn't that much more expensive than the normal one because of the price knockoff. But yeah, it weighs 5.2 kilos, which is not that light, but the performance I got out of this is really good. Good glide on it, and then I found out, and it floats really well in deep snow. The front, it's kind of looks like a boat. So it glides really well. It plows through deep snow with not too much problem. You don't get any buildup on the front. The sides a little bit. And then, what was I going to say? Right, sled itself, it's 150 centimeters long, weight 5.2. It's like 53 wide, I think, something like that at the top. But when it's empty, I'll flip it over and I'll show the bottom. But it narrows towards the bottom, so it's wide at top, narrow on the bottom, so it's a little bit unstable when you're going across lateral slopes. So it can tip over a little bit easily, especially with the bedding bag and the tent bag. So that's a little bit of an issue. But I started loading it a bit less stuff in the bedding bag, and I would just not take certain hills that I would normally not think twice about skiing down. So that's the only downside to it. Right. Actually, I'll have to slide this out of frame a little bit. Just hope I set this up right. Yes, I did. Nice. So this is a custom harness they made for me. Normally their harnesses are, it's got this big, they've got two. They've got the Expedition and then the standard one, I guess. And then these are the shoulder straps from the standard harness, and then the hip belt from the Expedition one. Expedition harness is hip belt is beefier, but then the shoulder straps are very thin. I think it's just, I can't show it now, but it's like these straps on the back. Maybe 35 millimeter nylon webbing that goes over the shoulder and then down at the front. But just pulling with a hip belt for me gets really uncomfortable after a while. I start getting like back pain, so I asked if they could send me the shoulder straps so I could modify it, and they said, "Oh, we'll do that for you." And I'm really appreciative because the shoulder straps on this thing, amazing. The padding is really thick, easy to adjust, and then I really like these because these don't slip at all. I've had a Pulk and Expedition harness, and the hip belt is really comfortable. The straps are really comfortable, but all of them, everything glides on it, so you have to constantly, many times every day, cinch it back down because it'll slide up as you go, and you throw yourself forward because it's bad snow, or you're tired, or you can't, or you're taking the skis off and you have to get over little ridges and stuff. So it's really frustrating having to constantly redo it every day. This thing, once you set it, it's set in stone. It's kind of hard to adjust, but you don't want it to be easy. I'll take hard over easy any day with these. The hip belt's adjustable both ways, but I only use one way because it's less hassle. It probably does mean I pull slightly crooked, but I prefer the easy tighten. This one I do open and adjust over the day. I'll lift it up, cinch it on my belly, give my hips a break, and then go back down on my belly. Chest strap, it's a little stiff, but it's fine. Let's see. You've got the, or I'll just unscrew it to show it. Actually, before that, I'll show you the details on this in a second. But with the pulling bars, these are fine. They're really, they're not very solid at all. That's what I like about them. So I've had the sled flip completely upside down, 180 degrees, and the bars, they don't care. It's fiberglass, and then there's a steel wire inside, so you can take the bars apart. They pack down no problem. And if one of these does snap, you can keep pulling and replace the bar when you get to civilization, or just keep going with wires. When I'm skiing downhill, like, I'll take the poles and I'll put them on here. I'll just kind of like toss them back, keep my hands on the straps, grab these, pull forward and kind of bend, and that lets me so it absorbed the momentum of the sled, so it was push me forward. And if I catch a bad patch of snow, or there's a little bump or something, and if you're going like this and skiing down, the sled rams into you, which can knock you off balance, make you fall, or yeah, it's just uncomfortable, or just like feels like someone's trying to rip your hips off. With this, it keeps your momentum, and even if you do take a bad fall, or the hill flattens out, or it's there's a little bump, then you keep the momentum, and it helps you keep going down, and it's more stable. So I almost feel like it's easier to go down with the sled than without it at sometimes. So easy to hop in and out. It's screw carabiners. Only complaint I have about the whole harness, and the only place it's showing any wear is right here, because of the screw carabiners. This it's almost like a file. It's very abrasive, so it's very nice to be able to adjust when it's cold in your hand, and these are a little bit iced up. So that is good, and I've had these open once or twice when I've forgotten to close these, so it hops out. So that kind of sucks. But as you can see here, it's like very abraded there, abraded here, and in fact you can see the inside material, which a bit better. Yeah, there. So that's not great, but it's more aesthetic damage than anything. But here is not good. This is not good. It's worn down maybe 20%. So I don't know what I'm gonna have to talk to Pulka and see what I can do about this when the D-ring starts to fail and it pops off completely. I can just run the carabiners through to these, but that's a temporary solution because it'll wear through these even faster than this material. I don't know why they chose these instead of metal carabiners or links. Maybe so you can change where they're attached, but I just keep them on the D-ring. And then yeah, same on this side. In the beginning I kept this Mora. It's a Mora 2000. You can use any belt knife, but I like this one. There's no button snap to close. I don't like those. They get full of ice and then your knife falls out and stabs you in the foot or just goes away. So it just pops into the sheath, and then I've got the little cord on here just to get iced up sometimes, and then I wouldn't be able to get a good grip on. So cord there. Boom. And I almost never cut anything with this. It was just to get the ice out of the binding, so there'd be a big buildup between the foot and between the boot and the binding. So I'd take off the ski, and then I'd just like hit it with the pommel a couple of times, but then you can get really thick layers of ice in there. So I jam the knife in there and just like twist it to get it out, or even better, so take the knife and then get into these little tiny crevasses. So clearing out the ice from there, which would keep the ski from closing properly or being able to open sometimes, which is really annoying. This is very good. I wish it was a little bit like pointier, narrower blade so I could really get in there and chip it loose. It's a little bit too big, but that's what I had. But I sent this home too later on. And then this little masterpiece of technology. It's a $3 compass from Coleman, and I used this the entire trip. This was my main navigation tool. It's a little cheap ball compass on a safety pin that just stays on here. It's absolutely beautiful. Love this thing. I'm gonna buy 50 of them, or buy 10, give them away as presents, because these things are wonderful. I use it in summer too. This thing's gone 2,500 kilometers maybe. So, and it just keeps trucking. So, good little tool. Right. So, I have modified this sled from as it came from the factory. The original zipper pulls on the cover were nylon strips sewn shut, maybe about the metal zipper is that long, and then the straps were maybe that long, but they weren't very beefy, and I couldn't grip them with my mitts, so I cut those off about 2 minutes after I got it, and put these long cords on there instead. Big, easy, they close, and they're easy to spot with under a headlamp when the weather's crappy. I kind of wish I got like bright yellow, but this is what I had that was thick. Oh, hold up. So, yeah. So, these are nice. The hooks on the elastic that Pulka sends, they're very small, and there's a little nub on them so that when you put the elastic together like that, it locks the elastic so it doesn't jump off, but it takes more time to get it to go in there, and it's a lot harder to get off, especially when you're wearing thick mittens and your hands are numb and you're just trying to get to your hot water bottle. So I changed those also immediately, and I got these hooks from Vita. It's like the cheap. It's the Home Depot / Walmart in Sweden. They have cheap stuff for home repair and car stuff. Or I guess that's the closest equivalent. These are just regular boat hooks. You get 5 for like 40 crowns. So they're cheap. They come with a little thing there. Cut that off. So it's a big open hook. Hooks on there easy. Maybe one time in 1,000 that I've opened and that one of these hooks have been attached. Maybe it'll slide off, but I'll take that one time, which doesn't really make a difference, to all the time I would have lost having to close those very small hooks very often. So if you're looking at buying a sled from Acapulco, which I could really recommend, all I can say is change the zip, change the hook. Big cheap hooks, wide opening, easy close, easy open. You can do it without looking, you can do it without thinking. I don't even think about it anymore. It's wonderful. Other than that, the only modification I've done is I had my lovely partner, paint a little motivational text on the back. I almost never got to see it except when I took the sled off and flipped it over at night, or when I flipped the right side up in the morning. But I had a lot of people who were skiing with me for a couple hours or a couple of days really say that they liked seeing this every time they looked up. So anyone who's going to do some long distance skiing with a sled, I'd really say get a little funny picture or a text or something motivational or something that'll make people behind you giggle or smile when it's a long, crappy day, the weather sucks, you're cold, you're hungry, and you just really just want a pizza and a beer. Now or never, yeah, good choice for me, but you'll find something to suit you. So, one thing I do regret about ordering this custom sled is I let the guys at Acapulco, the person I talked to, talk me into getting this ripstop Cordura instead of the ripstop nylon I wanted originally. The regular Acapulcos come with 500 denier red Cordura, which looks really nice and it's really durable. It'll last a long time. Doesn't really, it's not very sun. It's very UV resistant. It's tough. Marginally water resistant, but originally I opted to get the ripstop nylon, which is really thin, really light. It's like semi-transparent, but at the last minute they said they had this ripstop Cordura in stock, and they really recommended it just because it's more abrasion resistant. It'll last longer. But I realize now I should have got, and I thought that sounded like a great idea. You know, Sweden has rocks and tree branches and stuff like that, so skiing on snowmobile trails, branches might whip you or the sled. It happens. But I realize now that was really stupid, because I almost always have the Arctic bedding on there that is on top of this, and it protects this material. So this material has 0 marks on it after this entire trip. And the ripstop nylon would have been the same because it's not exposed to any weather or any branches or any wear and tear at all. So I don't know what the weight settings would have been, but a decent bit. This is 75% the weight of the 500D Cordura, but it's 2.5 times as heavy as the ripstop nylon, so I wish I'd gotten that. Alternatively, if they had offered something like X-Pack or some kind of very thin, completely waterproof fabric, I would have really loved that now, because this ain't waterproof at all. I've had standing water in the sled this deep. That really sucked. But there's not really anything you can do about that except have a waterproof cover. But I figure once I have the waterproof Arctic bedding, then this won't get exposed to as much wet, so it should help keep all my stuff dry. But like I said, after this, once this video is posted, I'll have a talk with Pulk about the harness. Maybe they've considered using X-Pack or something like that, and the hooks. But otherwise, it's a great sled. Really wonderful stuff. And just really good customer service. Can't say that enough. Big snaps or buckles here. It's a slightly different design than I'm used to. It's yeah, from Mojave Streamline. I'm used to DAC buckles, or not DAC, but I don't know why they chose these. They're solid and they work, but like the opening is a bit different. Works fine, clicks in well, doesn't come off. Feels very solid. When I carry the sled like around train stations or to and from, the standard carry is cinch this buckle down as far as it goes, and then carry the sled like that. So I've carried this thing fully loaded with 2 weeks of food and all my equipment, hundreds of meters through stations and trains and stuff like that, like this. So these are very strong straps, and the rivets on the side are good too. So I use the elastic to secure the tent, and then I use the big straps to secure the Arctic bedding on top. Right, underside. So this is where things get a little less ideal. So, and the review on the sled goes a little south. It's still great. I still love it. Still going to use it on every future trip, unless it's a very short weekend trip. But some complaints must be made. So, you got the runners on the sled. It's a milled ABS plastic, I think, or it's some kind of plastic. Maybe 3 millimeters of it stick out. So, I really don't understand why they've made these runners so thin. I really wish they were 5 millimeters at least, maybe even more. Sure, it might lift the sled up a bit, but these wear out so fast. This has been a bad year with lots of exposed ground, gravel on roads, and unskiable snow on the side, so this thing's had to go over a lot of bare ground, but I don't like these runners at all. It's great glide on good snow, but they wear out so fast, and they're not cheap. I think it's like €130 for a new pair, which is a little bit much, honestly. I get it's milled, so it takes a lot of time and energy, but considering how thin they are and how fast these are going to wear out, little bad. So on the, what is it? Yeah, they're basically worn down so that the raised ridge in the middle is level with the side here, on the middle where most of the weight is. On the front, it curves up quite a bit, so it's fine. And then on the back, same, it curves back down. So the nice part is when you're dragging it on concrete over a long stretch, you can just grab it by this handle and just pull it like a rolling suitcase, and it wears out the back part that's leaning up. That part never sees the snow. So, but you can't do that for 10 kilometers when on a somewhat gravelly road. So, I wish they would offer like these ones, like the weight efficient, and then something slightly taller and deeper runners, maybe with I don't know how you would improve these. But they're easy to replace, so that's the nice part at least. So I'll be doing that sometime in the fall in preparation for next winter. And then the only real complaint about this sled is the coating on the bottom. This is their black magic carbon fiber coating, which is supposed to be really nice. And I've seen one of their sleds that's like 20 plus years old that my friend Paul has, that he got from an old German friend. It's this, but it's in 120, and the runners are metal, like T-shaped ridges instead, which it's much worse glide, but they last decades. They last so much longer than these. But I did notice when I tested it out, like the glide was much worse. So maybe something between those two. But you see here, just Oh, this is just falling off. And most of this fell off when I was skiing on like groomed, actually I don't know if that's a shot. Yeah, most of this fell off on groomed snowmobile trails. So it's like nice, smooth snow, no rocks, no nothing, no hard ridges. And that's when a lot of this damage started after about 2 weeks. So I'm really disappointed in that. I know this was supposed to be like a factory defect, but only aesthetic differences. That's what they said in the emails. So like the edge here on the carbon fiber is kind of rough. It doesn't look very nice, but I don't care about that. But this is not aesthetic. This is functional. This is like where most of the contact is with the snow. So that significantly affects glide in anything except like a hard, crusty snow where you don't go below these plastic ridges. As soon as this is touching there, this is where most of the contact is with the ground, with deeper snow. And I get ice and snow build up on these. I have to stop and scrape that off, and then more of it's not good. And it's mostly on the right side, but it's also it's not as bad, but here it's also on the inside, and this gets exposed to almost no wear and tear unless you run over a rock. I didn't run over many rocks. My skis have like two tiny little nicks on them from gravel on roads. So yeah, I talked to them, and they said it's a manufacturing defect. There's a tiny air gap between the carbon fiber and the Kevlar of the body, and then on the left side, it's not so much. It's a little bit here, a little bit there, a tiny bit on the back. But then otherwise, like the coating is really resistant. It's super smooth. It looks really nice. So yeah, they're gonna have to. I don't know what the deal is with replacing this. I haven't talked to them about that yet. But it's not something I can do myself. I think they have to remove it and apply a new layer. But good stuff. I didn't have much snow sticking to the carbon fiber. A little bit to the Kevlar, but then there's days where the snow sticks to everything. So overall, I'm really happy with it. There's this important detail. There's this big gap between the runners here. So not sure how well this shows up on camera. But between these two runners, it's like a catamaran. There's this big gap, maybe, I don't know, 4 centimeters between the runner and the bottom of the sled in the middle. So when you're skiing on flat ground, the bottom of the sled's not touching the snow at all. It's only this runner and this runner, maybe a little bit on the sides. So it's super low friction on good surfaces. The only downside, like I said, is stability. It's top heavy and it's on the side. There's not much friction to the ground, so it tips over more easily, but the sled can flip back. You can right itself if you're lucky. You just have to take really sharp turns against whatever direction it fell. And I'll show the inside. Actually, yeah, I'll empty the sled and show you what the inside looks like. And also, big drag handles on the end, heavy. These are never going to come off. Great stuff. Yanking it over ridges, dragging it, carrying it, works fine. And I'll talk about all these bags in a minute, and I'll also bring the camera a little closer because now it's like small detail items. Aqui a fracta. Pitrak half Pulk bag. HMG Summit pack. So, inside the sled, really cool design. It's just the byproduct of the Kevlar material they use, but it's not smooth. It's like, it almost feels like a fabric. I mean, it's Kevlar, it is a fabric. Rivets go through here, attached to the bottom, and then the runner goes through there. So it's a pretty smart design on like easy change runners, but the easy change runners shouldn't. I would prefer harder to change runners and better runners. And then one thing I thought was kind of strange to begin with, but I realize now it makes sense, is the finishing on the edges is Gorilla Tape. So when I've made a sled in fiberglass myself. So when you've got the edges here, you cut off the excess, and then you sandpaper it down as well as it goes. I put like a nylon strap over the edge, and then put the rivets through there. But they went for a much smarter and lighter option. I think it's just regular Gorilla Tape, or maybe something slightly stronger, but it is just heavy-duty black tape that goes to the edge and make sure there's no rough edges there that can cut the fabric cover or damage any of your items. So smart design. Hats off to them for that. Hats off. Yeah, and then you've got the attachment points for the sled in here, covered with plastic caps, so no rough edges. And then you've got these two deep ruts inside. In the beginning, I wasn't a big fan of these. I know it's a byproduct of the shape of the sled. You can't have this catamaran build without having these deep ruts in there. And I felt it was a big waste of space, especially that if you could get something heavy in there that takes up very little space, but it's very dense, so liquids and stuff like that, then it would really help reduce the top heaviness of the sled, and you'd also be able to use the space in here more efficiently. With the Pulk bags that I use, this space doesn't really go used, so I don't know how many liters, but if I was on a very long trip, like anything over a month, maybe 5, maybe 6 weeks, if I had shared supplies, like tent and stove and stuff, I could probably stretch 6 weeks with this sled if someone else is helping. By myself, maybe 5, probably closer to a month. In that case, I would probably want fuel bottles or like some kind of liquid bottles that would fit in the bottom of these and really use the space efficiently. And I don't know, put Velcro or something on the bottom so they'd stick there and not have to rearrange them every time. But one thing I did learn that's very useful about these is when it did rain or there was very wet snow and there's like water buildup inside, with the Pulk bags in here, the water would pool in these ruts. So my equipment wouldn't be standing in water, which is obviously not something you want. You don't want to open your sled and find, oh, there's, a centimeter of water and it has soaked into everything. Instead, everything in the sled would be damp, but then there'd be like standing water at the bottom and your stuff would be slightly less wet. So it worked. It's a plus. It's a positive when it's wet out compared to a flat bottom sled like a Paris Pulk or the Jämtlander, I guess, or the Siglin, which has holes in it, which is the reason I didn't get that. So smart design and just really good looking sled inside. When I opened this, this is science fiction right here. Yeah, all the rivets are good, no rough edges. Tape on the rough edge of the sled. There's like one tiny place where the tape is kind of lifted up, but it's just it doesn't matter. It's just a minor aesthetic detail. Yeah, this is an Acapulco Featherlight XL 150. Happy with it. So the shadows are getting a little long in the afternoon, so I've had to relocate so everything's not in shadow. So now we have the 3 Pulk bags that I use to store all my equipment. So we have the HMG Summit Pack. This is it's like 400 something grams in DCF. The white one is like 300 and something, but it felt kind of stupid to bring a white backpack in the snow, especially the small Summit Pack, which is really tiny. It didn't feel like the best idea, so I did prefer the black, and it's a little bit more durable, so slightly more longevity. I use this as my food bag, and it's 30 liters roll top, and this stored about 2 weeks of food in it, pretty much perfectly. And it's fairly rectangular. Now it's not food in it, so it doesn't keep its shape too well. But yeah, worked fine. My food stayed dry and easy organized, and it's fairly heavy DCF, so fits in the bag well, and I didn't feel bad about just throwing it in the tent. No complaints. I didn't take any day trips, so it didn't really get to see its primary function, but as like a big dedicated food bag that has a secondary function, can't complain. And then IKEA Fakta. This is a slightly improved version of the IKEA bag. It's got a 2-zippered opening, carrying straps. Only complaints are that it's not particularly waterproof, but it's not supposed to be, and that the seams that keep the zipper and the material together are kind of flimsy, so they've opened up in 1 or 2 places, but it's still in totally usable condition. And they cost 30 crowns, and they're really light, so for what they are, they're great. Get to that in a sec. And then this is a half Pulk bag from Vita. It's the same material as the Arctic bedding, so again, it's not very waterproof, but it's pretty light, and it's durable, so it's got like 1 or 2 small marks on it, but no damage. Carry handles on both sides, easy to pick up. These two for also, if it's really heavily loaded, and I don't want to put all the weight on the ends, I can carry it like that, but it's not meant for carrying anything any distance. And then these 3 together is a really nice system with how the sled is shaped. It's very wide at the back and the middle, but then the front maybe quarter, it gets narrower and it gets shorter. So I'd have the food bag either at the very back of the sled, this in the middle or at the very back, and then I'd have this IKEA bag, which is slightly narrower and slightly shorter, and I'd have that at the front. So I'd have some stuff at the front and then more stuff towards the back, and that would compress down and it would conform better to the shape of the sled. So worked really well. And also now my throat really hurts because I've been talking for like an hour and a half, so bear with me. So the IKEA bag is I'd say less important of the 3. It's got repairs, spares, and then stuff I don't use very often or don't use every single day. So it's the odds and ends bag, even though it takes up a third of the sled, go figure. So I'll just take things out in roughly the order that they come out in. It's a little bit chaotic in there, but it was like on the trip too. So we have the Arc'teryx Beta AR jacket. It's a good rain jacket, except for the fact that it's not waterproof anymore. And I retreated at home. It worked for a week, and then I get wet out again. Arc'teryx wants something like 800 crowns to re-waterproof it, which is insane, and it's probably not going to last more than 6 months. So kind of pissed about that. But before then, it was a great rain jacket. Maybe this is just a lemon. Yeah, good raincoat. And then once I sent the cotton jacket home, I just used this every day instead until I got my wind jacket later on. So I wish I had something better, but for now this will do. These are the big boy salopettes. So these are the Klettermusen Freke. I'm very happy I got for half off because Klettermusen is very expensive. It's good overpants. I use these very, very rarely, and then I sent them home in Hemavan because they were overkill. It wasn't cold enough for them anymore, and they're not very waterproof, so not very useful when it's raining out. It's really nice when it's minus 30 and snowing hard and really windy. Suspenders, zip that goes right down to about there, and then there's a little bit of fabric in there. It makes it kind of hard to pee with them on. But at the same time, it stops snow from leaking in there below the zipper, which I'll take the hard to pee part over having lots of snow right around my stomach. One pocket here, pocket in each thigh. Like I said, I didn't really use this much, but I've used it before extensively in bad weather, and these are really nice when it's a hard headwind or you're digging bivouacs. Or you know you're going to be falling down a lot in deep snow, so these are really good. Knee pad pockets, again, that cheap foam pad I bought for little odds and end projects. I slapped 2 pieces, cut them in there, they fit fine. And then kneeling, there was one day I was wearing this when I was setting the tent up, and I was kneeling. It took me almost an hour because it was so windy, and I spent a lot of time on my knees in the dark trying to get the pegs to stay in. They kept popping out of the snow because I picked a bad spot. So kneeling for an hour, it's dark, it's maybe 15 meters per second wind, and it's minus 15. Knee pads are very nice. So always worth it bringing knee pads, at least in early season. It's a full-length zipper. Zippers go both ways, so if you have to poop while wearing pants in the middle of the day and you've got suspenders on and a jacket, open up the zipper, unzip to this little latch, I guess you call it, so you can pull it on the back. And then zip up after, or pee if you're a girl. Bottom, you've got these little stirrups. They go under your boot and they keep the pants from riding up at all. There is a built-in snow lock that cinches down nice and tight on the boot. And with the stirrups, never had these glide up or have snow let in. So it's a good design. This little hook and loop is a little bit tight. It's really hard to do, especially when these are iced over and your hands are cold, and or it's iced or it's frozen solid in the morning and trying to get dressed. I wish this loop was a little bit larger, or they had picked a slightly slightly smaller hook. Either or, probably bigger loop is easier. But overall, it's a good design. It's Kevlar in some places, so they last a long time. I know all the guides I know wear these in the winter driving snowmobiles, and they last years and years. For me, these will probably last 15 years or more, just because I'm not out that often, and when I am, I don't really wear these much. I run too hot, so I overheat, so I can't use these unless it's really nasty. A little bit of stretch in the back, tiny bit of stretch in the sides. It's not waterproof, but it's nice when the snow builds up. It's breathable. You don't get clammy inside like you do with Gore-Tex. So they do ice over, but you just roughly scrub off the snow and you're fine in 5 minutes. So quality, but it's really heavy. It's like 1.5 kilos. So only if it's really cold do I wear these, and it wasn't really cold winter, so waste of weight. Set those on. Goggles. I didn't use these the entire trip. Sunglasses are so good, it wasn't necessary. My dad bought these when he visited a couple years ago when we were going skiing, and then just left them to me because he said he was never going to use them again. He doesn't go skiing. So glad I had them with me. If my glasses were knocked off my head and I lost them in the snow, or one of the lenses broke, I'm glad I have something to cut the glare down or stop snow from filling my eyes if I'm skiing into a headwind. So I'd never go out without a spare set of sun and snow protection for my eyes, but in the future I'll probably get something other than these goggles, just because they take up a lot of space. They're not heavy, but a second pair of good sunglasses like this, maybe not prescription, or maybe some better goggles I'd wear instead of my glasses. So it's fine. These are the Hestra overmitts. It's waterproof again, but I've used these extensively last winter. I used these as like my main gloves, but now they're so worn out, the seams are kind of giving out, and there's a couple small holes, so they're not very waterproof anymore. If it was very wet out, I'd wear these and the windstopper gloves, the thin ones under these, but I won't bring these next winter. I'll just get myself a better pair of mittens. But man, they're packed on small, they're not that bad. Or maybe just get myself another pair of these. Alternatively, I think I will most likely make myself a pair of DCF or Tyvek, like really, really oversized mittens to pull over my regular breathable but not waterproof mitts. So these came with me the whole way just because they're so small, and I always want an extra mitten with me, even if they're not insulated, but not very useful. These are my long skins. It's just the regular stuff sack I have lying around for my old sleeping pad. It's Coltex mohair, and then I've got the skin saver on because these, I really don't want them to get dirty and have to reglue them. Regluing skins is a pain. Redoing these would be awful. It's a little loop on the end, metal thing. Doesn't fit quite right on my skis, but it sticks. And then it's a little rubber on the end, so you hook up the bottom end, stretch it along, stick it to the length, and then you can stretch the rubber out and then pop that over the tip of the ski. I didn't use these much, but when you need them, you really need them. I used them on the first day, and then I used them in Skalmodal and like 2 other times, I think. But with these, you put them on for big hills. If the hill is more than I can't put a number on it, but if a hill looks like it's going to take most of the day and it's going to be horrible, it's worth putting these on. The glide is pretty good on them, and it really helps, especially when the sled is heavy. You've just taken on 2 weeks of food, or like I put them on the first day going up the hill from Grevenrön, just because it is a steep hill, and you know you're still getting into ski mode, so body's not fully adjusted yet. I did send these home from Kvikkjokk, just in my desperate fit of cutting weight. But yeah, they work fine. And after that, there's such a hard icy crust on the surface that it's easier to take the skis up off and walk than put on the short skins or put these on. By the time these are on, the time it takes to put them on and take them off, it's faster to just walk up. You don't sink in the snow. Second headlamp. If I lost or broke my first one or the charger stopped working, then I have this one which uses AAA batteries, 4 of them, and it's also got a really strong lamp. So yeah, in January, February, early March, I'd definitely bring a second headlamp, but I'll probably bring something a bit lighter than this one. It's like 100 something grams, like 104 without batteries. With 4 big AAA batteries, it's got a good heft to it. So good to have, but something a bit lighter next time. This is a Rawology Cork Mini. I have plantar fasciitis and bursitis, so basically at the end of the day my feet really hurt, and the only solution that really works is I take this, put it on the ground, just roll it on my foot, and it's absolute bliss. Really helps reduce the pain, and if I don't do this before I go to sleep, and when I try to stand up the next day, my feet are just in utter agony. It's really painful. So this is like 20 grams. I used to use a golf ball, but this is more comfortable than the golf ball, and it's not as noisy if you lose control and it rolls across the cabin floor at 2 in the morning, so nice. Fuel. I sent the dry bag home because the fuel bottles I have are good and don't leak, so it's like 90 grams, so that's gone. I use the Trangia 1 liter fuel bottles with the little spigot on top. I thought about using something else, just because I'm not a big fan of the spigot. I always get a little bit of fuel in my hand, and I don't really need this often because I use a 1 liter fuel bottle, so this holds a liter. When my fuel bottle's empty, I just screw off the cap and just pour the whole thing in. Well, mine is like 200 milliliters, or 100 or so at the bottom. But I want something that's not going to get corroded by petroleum-based fuels and not going to leak. And these are about the lowest I could find that were guaranteed for both. So it's fine. I started with 3 liters. I did not need 3 liters of fuel. I estimated I'd use 0.2 liters of fuel per day. But it was much less than that. I barely used anything. Maybe 120, maybe. Sorry, 1 second. Let's see. Yeah. So, yeah, those 2. Sent one home fairly early on, and then I sent home this one slightly later, and then I sent home my entire stove. So, also gone. Repairs and spares. Hilleberg spare pole section with a little splint. I didn't break any poles, so I always bring this, of course, because if a pole breaks, you need to fix it, but didn't use it. Big Ziploc bag with all my repair items. Map. I didn't really use the maps during the day that much. I'd use them maybe in the tent if I'm checking the route for the future, and then in the depot box whenever. Pardon me 1 moment. And we're back. So, like I said, map, Always have a paper map with me. Would never go out without a paper map. But didn't use them during the day, just at night, or when I'd pick up a depot box and I'd be planning out the next section's route. Every time I'd get a depot box, or there's a post office and I finish that section, I put them in a blue envelope and send them home. They're not that heavy, but you know, it's 1,400 kilometers. It's a lot of paper. So send those home. Repair kit for the stove. Yeah, just one of everything at least, and then I carry three extra leather seals for the pump, because the Primus pumps are reliable, but the leather packing on them is garbage. Need to change them pretty often. It's the only weak point of the stove, so I carry a bunch extra. I only had to change one, so that's thankful. A couple zip ties, they come in handy. Postcards from home, getting depot boxes. I always bring those with me when they show up, but of course I don't send them home. Can't put a price on sentimentality. A little bit of extra cordage for adding zipper pulls to stuff I didn't think of. There is a longer bit of cord, but I'll show that in the stuff I added along the way. Spare bolts for the Pulka on the front, the attachment point. It's wing nuts and a hex bolt, just a regular threaded bolt. So I got a couple extra of those in case those fell off or wore through. Those still are fine, but I'll probably use these next winter. Leather balm for the Hestra mitts. Helps keep the leather supple and not wearing thin or cracking, which would kind of suck. Tiny little rag for rubbing it in. Fingers work well, but I kind of like using this. Just feels like you get a little bit better result. One more zip tie. And then an entire spare Rottweiler binding. You have to buy them in twos, unfortunately, so I have an extra one sitting in the storage unit I use. Mine are still fine. The rubber bit has worn out a little bit on them, but it's still in good shape, usable. But if your binding breaks, the metal bit, there's nothing you can do. You're totally screwed. There's no way to repair it. There's no way to jury rig it. You can duct tape your boot to the ski, but that's not going to be fun. So I carry a spare and the screws inside under the duct tape to swap out if I do manage to destroy my binding. It's happened to some people. Mine are still fine. I've never had a problem with them. But if I'm going out for more than a week, and especially somewhere where there's no easy access for road where I can just kind of limp my way out, definitely carrying a spare. And then, yep, that's everything just goes in a regular cheap Ziploc. And one more map. 3 maps at the end. And that's it. Still in good shape. It's a little bit worn in the bottom, but it's fine. Alright, and now the main items that I use every day. So, Toiletries. It's a little DCF ditty bag from Gossamer Gear. I used to use Ziplocs, but they would always start wearing out, and I don't always have a spare Ziploc with me, so it's nice to have this, and it's also, what's it called, it's different from my other bags, so it helps me remember which was which when in the dark, also filling around inside. Toilet paper, I carry in these little thin, tall bags. I usually carry 2, lasts me about a week or so, maybe a bit more. And I carry one in my fanny pack, and so I have it with me during the day, along with a lighter. And then I'd carry a spare one, not with this little, but like fully. I can barely get it in and out in the beginning. But yeah, I haven't filled up anything since I got back. Repair kit. It's some thick wire, super glue, a little sewing kit, and then tenacious tape and tear aid patches for repairing everything from like my down jacket, sleeping pad, yeah, just anything, pretty much anything. Försvaret hudsalva, it's like a foot lube or skincare stuff. You start getting cracked, chafed skin on your hands or feet, just rub some of that on there. It's not perfect, but it works. Ibuprofen, you need vitamin I, it's important stuff, especially if you got aches and pains somewhere. It just helps keep the inflammation down. I keep these in my toiletries bag because you use them a lot. Other bag for the toilet paper. Another flosser. Mini toothpaste tube. These last a while. I threw one extra in a depot box halfway along. Lasted me fine. And I actually don't have my toothbrush with me. I left it in Gothenburg when I drove down to Skåne. So obligatory cut down half-length toothbrush. Not even for the weight. It's just because full-length toothbrush doesn't fit in the bag. And then Kortemik. I sometimes get like rash on my thighs or like a little bit further in. So this really helps. It gets pretty painful after a while. So always carry that. Useful stuff. First aid kit. Not going to go in there because it's a million tiny items, but first aid kit, super personal. You carry what you want or you think you need. Only things I used from here were ibuprofen, one Band-Aid, nail clippers, and tweezers. I think that's it. Otherwise, yeah, just to each their own. And then little 1 liter waterproof bag. It is properly waterproof. So, yeah. Alright, camp clothes. So, originally I started out with these 2 stuff sacks for all my camp equipment, the stuff I wear in camp. Big red hat. I have a pretty big head, but this is too big even for me. I got it big so I could wear it over my wool cap, but it's way too big. Actually, I just need to check that I'm not running out of battery. And we're back. Good thing I checked because I had 2% battery left. So, hat. It's fine. I just wish it was a little bit more snug. 2 big fluffy socks. Don't know the brand. I think it's Wigwam. They're a little bit too big. I got a pair of thick, comfy, slightly more snug socks because I find these would slide down on me over the night. And then last, the piece de résistance. Acclima merino overalls. This thing is amazing. It's super comfy. It's overall goes from your feet to your neck and arms. One long zip in the middle, and then there's a big zip butt flap, so you don't have to take off your jacket if you have to answer the call of nature in the middle of the night. This thing's great. It's like 360 grams. Wore it almost every night. Sometimes I'd fall asleep before I get changed, or I'd be too lazy, or it happens. But this thing's great. A little chest pocket, loops on your feet so it doesn't slide up, and thumb loops. I didn't use these too often, but it's nice to have sometimes. And then all that went in this little DCF stuff sack. I didn't use this that much. Eventually I realized it's a waste of time, so I just toss everything loose in a pile in the tent. And then I set this home. It's light, it's small, but every bit counts. And now we have a pair of Mountain Raid pants. It's a Primaloft insulation. I thought they would be a bit too thin and light for winter touring, but this was such a brutally warm winter that these were perfect. Never too cold. Sometimes almost even too warm. And there's a almost full-length zip. It runs from there to the middle, and then you can zip the legs together, so it's like kind of like a skirt. And there's a foot pod you can put over your feet, so it's like a half bag. Didn't use that too much. I very rarely wore these while skiing, but sometimes it was nice, especially like during lunch break on a cold day. It's very thin nylon, so they're not very weather resistant, but they're warm, they're light, they pack down pretty small, and it's a synthetic insulation, so they don't mind getting wet too bad. These, I love these. Everyone I've met loves these. They're absolutely amazing. These are the Western Mountaineering Expedition down booties. Almost up to the knee. It's a down booty from here to here, and then it's a Gore windstopper gaiter almost up to the knee. You're going out of the tent to take some pictures at night or go to the bathroom. These are just amazing. I'd have them on the tent all the time. As soon as I get in the tent, I'd start the stove, I'd take my boots off, I'd get changed, and I'd put these on right away. And they'd stay on until I fell asleep. And sometimes I'd wake up in the middle of the night too warm, kick them off my feet in the sleeping bag, and then put them on before I get out of the bag. It's a foam sole, a little bit slippy on ice. I wish there was like some little silicone ridges on here, but it's good. Only had issues once or twice, and it's Gore windstopper, so they're pretty weather resistant. They get wet if it's wet snow or raining, but they're still good. So these, cannot say enough about good things about them. They pack down flat, like nothing. So, and they're pretty light. So even with a backpack in winter, I'd bring these. Worth it. IKEA pack pod. I kept this one actually for the extra boot liners I got later, but it's nice. Originally I got to protect these, but then I realized they're tough enough. They don't need protecting. Ooh, already too warm in these. Yeah. And these are maybe a little bit fancier than I needed. Honestly, I wouldn't mind making my own pair of these, like one of the guys I met, Temu, had. But just fine. This is a synthetic Apex quilt from Enlightened Equipment, and I would put this over the sleeping bag, the down bag, to help mitigate frost buildup. I sent this home in about a month and a half in, just because it wasn't cold enough, and it's not small. This by itself is good for about +5. With the sleeping bag, I think I probably would have been okay down to maybe a bit below -40. Yeah, you know what? I'll show that now. It's worth it. So, packs down fairly small for what it is. And I went for the red, so it's a little more high vis, and then it's black on the inside, so it can dry more easily when it's I get a chance to dry in the sun. And it's synthetic, so that when the moisture coming from your body builds up in the down bag, that moves the frost point out. So instead of the down getting wet from all the moisture coming out of your body and clumping up, the synthetic gets it. The synthetic is easier to dry, and it's less affected by moisture buildup. So I think it does compress the footbox a little, but it's worth the difference, because otherwise the footbox is not a fun place for your sleeping bag to be damp. So you see, suddenly it went from a big down bag to an enormous just chunk of insulation. So only downside is there's no hood to it. And next winter, if I get the time and willpower, I probably will sew myself a dedicated synthetic overbag, and maybe integrate it to the sleeping pad so it stays on. I'll experiment around, but as like a reasonably priced stopgap solution for condensation, for moisture buildup, the first 2 weeks this was really nice. When I got to Helags and finally had a chance to dry my stuff on day 12, I think, I put this in the drying locker cabinet, drying cabinet. And I think it weighed probably twice as much as it weighs normally, just because all the moisture had soaked up. And the down bag was almost fine, maybe a little bit damp around the collar, but Yeah, in the beginning there, it was, you know, pretty consistently cold. You know, minus 20, minus 30 a couple times. This was really good. Definitely would keep using this in the future. So sorry about the changing lighting conditions, but sadly I am not Apollo, so I can't make the sun's path change. I wish I could. I'm gonna give myself less sun and more snow this winter. More cold at least. Right. Electronics. It's a little ditty bag from Mountain Roll Designs, but you can use whatever. Kind of waterproof. But it's not a waterproof zip, or not very waterproof, so I put this in a Ziploc to keep it extra dry, but it's just a distinct dry bag, and it's rectangular, fits all my stuff, so I use it. I have 2 power banks. One is currently charging my phone, because I don't have a cable long enough to reach out here. And I have a 20,000 milliamp hour Anchor battery bank. It's got a fast charger on it I usually use, and then currently charging my phone, there's a 10,000 milliamp hour battery bank. Next winter, I'd like to use 2 Nightcore 10,000 banks because they're like 150 grams each. So those 2 would be a lot lighter than this one. I think this is like over 400 grams, so it's pretty heavy. So that's some nice weight savings, and they charge pretty quick. This one doesn't have quick charging like the battery bank. You can charge items quick with it, but you can't charge it fast. It's really stupid. I regret getting this. And my 10,000 bank is old. It doesn't hold the full capacity anymore. I have a micro USB charging my phone. Also, my phone is a Samsung Galaxy S10e, so it's a little bit smaller. I'm happy with it. And a 1 meter USB-C cable. I have 2 micro USB cables for charging the battery banks, the InReach Mini, and my headlamp. So I have 4 micro USB devices to charge, plus the 2 power banks. So having 2 cables is really nice. I've got it's not a fast charger, but it's a 2-outlet USB charger. I couldn't find a 2-outlet fast one that wasn't very big or very heavy. So I picked this up in Funäsdalen, I think? Yeah, Funäsdalen. And this worked really well. And then 1-outlet USB charger for fast charging, so it fast charges my phone and the power banks. So this is good, but I wish I had one of these with 2 outlets or 3 outlets. So that would be very nice. And that's it. So not too many electronics, no big fancy camera. I'm not into photography, and if I was, I'd get like a more compact digital camera that could fit in a chest pocket. I know plenty of people who carry around big, heavy cameras. The thing is, though, they take so long to get out, you don't want to ski with them in case you fall. So they use them very rarely. It's better to carry a slightly less good camera that's more accessible than a really good camera that takes 5 minutes to get out. So, yeah. Big brush, removes all the snow from your clothes. You get snow in your boots, helps keep it from melting and icing up the boots. Gloves, especially. In February and March, this is really important to just de-ice your clothes constantly whenever you stop for the night, or even during lunch if it's really caked on. Big loop on the back, so I could clip it onto a carabiner and carry it like on the belt of the harness. And then it's a pretty small handle. I wish it was a little bit thicker, but it's very short and very stiff bristles, so I can really scrub the caked on ice off of clothes. Some people use a dishwashing brush, but I've tried those and you can't get the really caked in ice off of the clothes. So something with really heavy bristles it's not Scotch-Brite or steel wool, but it's very rough. This works great. 1 liter Nalgene bottle and a little homemade cozy. It's a foam pad. Wrapped it around the bottle, put a bottom, put a top, covered in duct tape. Works great. It's pretty light. It's cheaper than buying one. And I throw this in I fill this with warm water in the morning, keep it in the sled, and then at night I'd have still liquid water, not frozen, not a bottle full of ice, which has happened to me. It's not fun thawing it out. And then I could start melting snow with this as a starter. Or if I was very cold or my bag was cold and damp from getting rained on or just moisture buildup. Fill this with hot boiling water, and then toss in the bottom of the sleeping bag like this, so it keeps the heat longer but preheats the bag for you. Nice to warm your hands up. I did send this home though, just because I was really desperate to cut weight, and I had my half liter for warming up my boots, and that's the more important one. So if I have to choose between a half liter and the liter, I'll take the half liter. Stove setup. Very happy with this. It worked wonderfully. Almost everything about this I'm gonna stick with in the future. Only thing I'm gonna redesign is the stove platter, and that's just a marginal improvement, or maybe making it out of a different material. I've considered experimenting with carbon fiber, just not even for weight, just because it's a more durable. But anyway, so stove platter, it's a 3mm plywood I've cut down to this size and shape. I've glued on the heat reflector on the bottom and these little ridges that keep the legs of the stove in place. And then I've added in this, I've cut slits into the board, so this strap stays in there and keeps the fuel bottle in place. So having a setup like this means that I know where everything is, and I don't have to depressurize my fuel bottle between uses, which is very handy for saving time and reducing the risk of having pressurized fuel spray out onto your exposed hand. Because at -30, if you get alcohol or a liquid fuel in your hand, it can really freeze you quickly. 1 liter Primus fuel bottle wrapped in duct tape so you're not touching metal. A bit better grip. I might put a couple more wraps on there, but works fine. So I wrapped the whole stove setup in a Knowles bandana. If you haven't taken one, take a Knowles course. They're really useful. You might help you or your friend not die someday, or you might save someone's life. Little, what's it called? Wilderness medical patient assessment as a reminder. And just bandanas are nice. So, my entire stove setup, everything fits inside this pot, and except the fuel bottle, and everything just stays on this pad. This is a Primus Omnilight. I've had an OmniFuel 2 before, but that is it's a little bit too big for one person. It works fine. This works for 2 people. 3 people, it's a bit too small. But for solo use, this is fine. And this is the only stove I found that's multi-fuel that could fit inside this pot. And it's also 100 and something grams lighter than the OmniFuel. So very happy with this. No maintenance with this at all, except for changing the fuel packing and the pump once. And it fits on there, and the legs keep it in place. So it doesn't move around, it doesn't rattle. I'm gonna change the design so it keeps it down. But this, very happy with, gonna continue using in the future, no questions asked. Unless it's like very late in the season, late April, early May, then I'll use a gas stove. This is really nice, having liquid fuel. When it's -30, then gas is questionable at best. Windscreen. I went for a very unique design, I'd say. This is just the regular windscreen that comes with the Primus stoves when you buy them, but I've modified this very heavily. So normally the standard is when you get a windscreen is you just roll it up and just have it lying around, but they get very wrinkly and they start to fail and fall apart at certain points. And it also takes time, and you're trying to fiddle with it. It's little rough metal edges, and like using your bare fingers or thin liner gloves with metal, it's not fun. It takes time and energy, and it's something I've always hated doing. So I've tried a couple different designs for windscreens, but I'm sticking with this in the future unless I find something that's integrated with the plate. So with this, I've made it so I've cut it down in height so it fits inside my pot. And then I've made a little shaped cutout here so it fits the fuel line and the adjuster here. So it's just big enough, allows enough air intake for the stove to run, but it's not so big you're losing a bunch of heat for no reason. More importantly, I've cut a little, that's hard to see on camera probably, but I've cut a little notch into this side and one here. They go halfway and they fit into each other like that. So it stays at the exact right diameter for me to run the stove, but this doesn't open up and it stays exactly centered. And it's worked so well. I didn't have any problems with this except where my friend Paul somehow managed to burn this part while running the stove at full throttle the very first day he used it, despite me having run the stove at full throttle for a month at that point with no problems. But technology seems to hate him, so it's understandable. It's not made of leather, so it doesn't like him. I wish I'd made it maybe like a centimeter longer. I could have adjusted that over the trip, but I never bothered with it. But as you see, it fits on there solidly. Okay, that's a little far, but you shouldn't be carrying your stove at 45 degrees anyway, especially not if it's lit or has a pot of water on it. But this is a very good design, and it's not showing anywhere except for that one burn spot, so this will probably last years and years now. It doesn't have the constant rolling and unrolling the same spots that the typical design has. So if you have a big pot that's tall enough to use like this, then I really recommend making one yourself and trying this out. Remember to roll the edges. And now, this guy. This is I'm very happy with this. I've tried a bunch of different pots for melting snow before, and the biggest criteria I have that most people don't really think about or care about is using like pot grabbers for like the Trangia or Primus pots. I despise that. Trying to find those when you're using Mittens or your pot's boiling over, it's going to put the stove out with all the water, it's filling the tent with steam, and you're just trying to find this tiny little piece of metal that you've dropped somewhere in your sleeping bag, or your friend has it at the other end of the tent or something stupid. I despise that. It's really frustrating, and it's an unnecessary thing to lose and keep track of, especially when you're trying to do something like melt snow for hours on end, not having to think about picking up the pot. Having built-in handles, very nice. Even better, having a pour spout. Being able to pour water from the pot without taking the lid off is a huge difference in the tent. If you have a pot with the pot grabber, then it pretty much can't have a pour spout, and it can't have a lid that fits on because the pot grabber has to grab onto the top of the pot. So every time you're melting snow and you're filling your water bottles or thermoses or rehydrating your dinner, lid has to be off and you're pouring. And every time you're doing that, you're probably using hot or at least maybe even boiling water. That's filling the tent with steam. You get condensation on the inside, and you get just huge clouds of moisture moving around the tent. And that moisture sets on your clothes, on your sleeping bag, on the inner tent, so you have to wipe off the entire inner tent. It's really frustrating. So finding a way to eliminate that, having a pour spout built into the pot, and a lid and built-in handle, so you can pour with gloves on and fill your bottles, is really huge difference. The amount of condensation I had this winter was so much less than any other trip I've had. This is I haven't even said what it's called. This is a MSR Big Titan kettle. It's 2 liters. You can use like 1.8 efficiently, easily, 1.5 maybe. But for solo use, 2 people, short term, I have nothing better than this. It's maybe not the most heat efficient. Aluminum is better, but I prefer titanium. It's really light. It's super flexible. Like you see that deformation? A little bit sketchy, but it's really strong. The lid locks in place. Sometimes it'll pop off. Sometimes, yeah, there you go. And it'll fall in, but it's not enough of a problem for me to really consider that a negative. They've got insulation on the top of the top handle of the lid for some reason, but not on the sides. So I added some insulation to myself. It's self-adhesive vulcanizing tape, I think. There's lots of different solutions. You can use silicone tubing, or there's lots of solutions. Just Google around. And then it fits almost perfectly on here. There's a tiny little gap around the edges, so the heat actually rises. I wish that it went taller. I wish it went all the way almost up to the pour spout, because then it would be a lot more efficient and you could trap a lot more heat in there. but the windscreen has to be tall enough it fits inside the pot. So I had to choose between if it fit in there or if it would be more efficient. And in this case, I did opt for the convenience of having it inside. I wish it was taller, or I had a way to make this like nest so I had 2 windscreens I could put on top of each other. Maybe I'll experiment with that next winter, but for now, this is a super compact stove setup. I'm gonna experiment with trying to make it a little bit more minimal. Right now it's, I guess kind of like on a basketball court, you've got that shape, straight lines and the curve at the top. But I think next iteration, I'll try making a teardrop shape, so it's round on this end and flat and pointy at this end, just for the fuel bottle because it doesn't need much. Thomas Ulrich has a really cool carbon fiber stoveplate design. I'm going to attempt to make a very crude, disgusting Frankenstein copy of. You can see that at some point in the future on next Vita Bandet's trip review. But I was very happy with the setup. Super low maintenance, very efficient. I used barely any fuel. Very quick to pack up and pack down. Good stuff. I kept the stove in this little stuff sack inside the stove, so it didn't scratch up my aluminum food pot. Titanium's harder than aluminum. I didn't want big gouges in this. And here I'd keep a lighter, just a regular Bic, and a box of matches. I've tried using ferro rods. I can make fires with them, no problem, but I don't really like them in winter. I usually use matches, but my matches got wet, and yeah. I didn't bother buying a spare because it was so warm at the end. I just used lighters, and I keep one in here. I keep one in my toiletries bag and one in my Fanny pack. So I have 3. 3 is enough. For food, I used it's Trangia's smallest pot. I tried. I tried so many different pots. This was the only one I could find that fit inside this pot with the windscreen and a cozy on the pot. That wasn't under 500 milliliters, so I think 800 is a little small. I would like 1 liter, but it's the only one I could find that fit. So I use this every day. I would dump breakfast in here or dinner, pour hot water in, and then I have a Reflectix Cozy. It's like bubble wrap wrapped in mylar film, or I think it's mylar. And then I wrap it in duct tape so it stays stable. I should have put it on the bottom and on the inside because it's kind of abraded away and the bubbles aren't very puffy anymore. I think most of them are deflated at this point. But it really helps keep the heat in. So pot, if I want to cook or something, I have I'll show it now even though it's part of the next food bag. So I have a Leatherman multi-tool that in the beginning I kept in my repairs and spares bag, but after a week I started keeping it in my food bag because this was the only time I used it for the most part. So when I was cooking some meals, like anything with dehydrated chicken in it, the chicken takes a long time to rehydrate, and I usually have to put it back on the stove and simmer it for a couple minutes after it had been in here with boiling water for 15-20 minutes and was starting to cool down. I have to reheat it and then let it sit for another 10 minutes or so, maybe 15, if they were bigger chunks. And then like I said, I hate pot grabbers. So I'd put it back on the stove just with my hand, and then when it's time to take it off, I'd kill the stove, grab it like that, drop it back in the cozy, and then just press it back down, or just do it like that. And then I have this lid, also Reflectix. When it was on the stove, this lid fits this one, so I'd use that when I was cooking. But then if I'm still melting snow while I'm waiting for my food to rehydrate, I would leave that cover on. It's a little bit big, but the only place I can store this is under this pot. I have a lid that fits this like snug, so it's tight and no steam seeps out, but it didn't fit inside there, so I had to go with this one. But overall, stove happy. Stove setup, I couldn't be happier. Everything worked just brilliantly. Plywood, the plywood I use is kind of crappy, but it's such a minor complaint. I'd have a tiny issue with snow sticking to it or one of the little legs of the plywood popping off, like once every 2 or 3 weeks is so minor I don't even think about it. So this concept, we're sticking with it. Food bag. Oh, and I also remembered with the multi-tool wallet. Super ultra light wallet. It's a little tiny zip bag. Got my debit card on one side, my ID on the other side, and then cash in the middle. That's it. Very basic. Lives in my electronics bag normally. I don't use it often. Go into town, buy some food. Want to buy a beer, show my ID. Very Corona safe and very convenient. So this is a 16-liter air zip bag from Granite Gear. It's some kind of silicone material. I had some mice chew a small hole in it, so just patched it with tenacious tape. Multi-tool. 250 milliliter Nalgene bottles for olive oil. I'm an olive oil guy. I love butter, but I feel long-term olive oil is nicer on my stomach, so I stick with that. Sriracha, in case my food isn't spicy enough, which it usually is. Little travel size, it's 136 milliliters. It's fine, tiny little spray top. Minus 25 or below, this freezes. So then I have to thaw it out beforehand or screw off the lid and use the back of my spoon to scrape some frozen sriracha slush out and then just drop it in my food bowl. But very happy I had these. I went through 2 of these on the trip. So in the future, every second or third depot box gets one. This one I had one every other, so I thought I'd go through one a month, but most of my food's pretty spicy already, so it's fine. Cheesecloth. It's like a little waxed canvas. It's this big. We're not going to unfold it. I'm a cheese guy, so even frozen, it's nice. You can just cut off a chunk and just wrap the cheese in this so it doesn't get gnarly. It lasts much longer than saran wrap. This is still going to be. I'm still going to be using this a year from now. You wash it every now and then. Yeah, it sticks to itself and keeps the cheese fresh, or from getting covered in dust. I'm not going to go through my food. I don't have any of it with me. I meant to grab a box when I was going to do this video, but a depot box I didn't end up sending out. But I forgot. So, or rather, I grabbed a different box by mistake. But otherwise, I dried most of my own food, or almost all of it, and had a really fancy oatmeal breakfast, like lots of different ingredients. I'll post a link to it for the video of my ingredients list. This is drink mixes and condiments, I guess. I keep my instant coffee in a Ziploc bag, the big like Nescafe bags. I find those, the seals on them start eventually getting stuck with coffee dust, and if that coffee dust keeps the seal from closing and you're in a hurry and you put that in your food bag, you're gonna get full of coffee. I've had powdered coffee, I've had that happen. It really sucked. So I use real Ziploc bags, and then to avoid that same problem with the Ziploc bags when you're kind of shaking the coffee into the cup, I have a cut down little measuring spoon, about 15 milliliters. So take a scoop of coffee, put it in the cup, add boiling water. It's the same strength coffee every time, and I know exactly how much I'm using every day, so I can portion out a bit more efficiently. I've been using this same system for years. It's fine. Keep tea in the same little Ziploc bag. Caffeine free, just because I sometimes drink it at night. And little tiny, those micro Nalgene bottles for salt. These are electrolyte tabs, so I don't use them that often, but after a long sweaty day, it's nice to have something like cheap Gatorade. You don't really get Gatorade here. Gatorade powder in Sweden, so this is nice. And then chili flakes. I had pepper as well, but pepper ran out in the last days. And that's all I had for drink powder, or drink mixes. For alcohol, I usually just carry maybe like a little half-liter of some kind of liquor, something nice to drink when you're stuck in your tent for 2 days, or you meet someone nice and want to share a drink, or you're just really bored, or you just want something after a long, hard day and you're really feeling down, or you just want a nice drink to celebrate a quality day. And I just carry a little like half-liter soda bottle. Works fine. And now, the most wonderful of all, my spoon. This is the regular, just long handle titanium spoon that everyone uses. It's from Vita Summit. Tokes makes them, everyone makes them. But this one has been modified to the final degree possible of absolute perfection. It has the little slickepott, I don't even know what you call it, like the little pot cleaner on the end. So I use this after I've finished breakfast or dinner, and I'll scrape the entire inside of the pot like that, and it helps reduce the amount of dishwashing I have to do. It gets that little last bit of food, and it really makes it easier to eat with mittens on when you're really cold, so you can like fist it like that, not trying to grab this tiny little stick. It's something a little bit extra to hold, and it makes it so much more useful for getting those last little calories out of your food. It stays on. It's never coming off. And that's it for food. Actually, I don't have it here, but normally I keep tortillas, big tortillas in this big gallon Ziploc bag. The tortillas, sometimes just eat them by themselves, rip them up and put them in stews, and then I have chili con carne with rice, and I'll heat that up, and I'll just slap a big couple scoops in there and eat a burrito. It's really nice to eat with your hand instead of always a spoon. Having variety, not just in food, but how you eat it. It's really good. And cup. So this is a regular, like the plastic scoop cup from Vita, but these 100 companies make these. I use this big cup mostly to scoop snow into the big 2-liter pot. It's a lot more convenient than scooping with the lid or a glove or anything. You get big solid chunks. So it's useful for that. And then coffee in the morning, tea in the morning. Sometimes I usually drink it out of the bottle, but sometimes it's nice for it to cool down a little bit. Mixed drinks, whatever. But mostly, I have a small lighter cup I use in the summer, but this one's really nice for the winter, just mostly for the pot. And then also, if you scoop snow with this pot, or any pot, sometimes it'll stick to the bottom or it'll stick to the sides. You put it back on the stove, and then metal heats up, snow lets go, puts the stove out. So, big cup, good stuff. And that's it. That's everything I started with. I'm going to cut, and I'm going to show you everything I got rid of. It's going to be a big pile. There's going to be one pile here of everything I sent home, and one pile here of everything I picked up, I had sent to me or bought along the way. We have the two piles. Everything I sent home, everything I either bought or got sent to me along the way. As you can see, the sent home pile is a lot bigger. And it's not just because I got smarter or realized I didn't need stuff, but it's also because this was a very warm winter. If this had been a winter with, a consistent -20 or lots of snowstorms, then I would have kept a lot of this stuff here, especially the big, heavy solid pet pants. But because this was a very mild and warm winter with not that many bad storms and very few that lasted more than a day or two, then I felt safe going with the slightly lighter, less beefy options. And then a couple things are just quality of life. So I'll do my best to go through what I sent from home here, and what I sent home from in this pile, and what I replaced it with, or if I didn't replace it, then obviously I won't go over that in this pile. So I'll try to get it in the order I sent it home, but no guarantees there. So this cotton jacket, if it's a consistent -10, -15 or colder, I would definitely wear this. This thing is amazing. I overheat really easy. I thought this thing would be a sauna for me, but it was really nice. I wore it, I pretty much lived in it every day in the first 2 weeks. I take it off when I went to sleep, and I put it on when I got up, when I got dressed in the morning. I could vent it well. and it was really nice with the fur ruff. It's a like proper fox fur I got used on the Swedish equivalent of Craigslist. And it would cinch down really tight over my face, so absolutely loved it. But it's zero water resistance. I waxed it a couple times, did nothing. It was gone after a couple days. So once it was more rain than snow, and when the snow did come, it was heavy and wet snow. This was useless. I sent this home, and it took a while. There was a while I didn't have this, and I didn't have this, and I was just using the Arc'teryx Vita jacket as a wind jacket and a rain jacket, so a bit clammy. I replaced it with this. It's a Montbell Tachyon wind jacket, anorak, so it's super basic. It's got sleeves, a hood, a quarter zip, and so it's an anorak, and no pockets. So it's like 75 grams. This is almost a kilo. So slight difference. This fits in my pocket. This thing has pockets. So this thing, great for real winter, a consistent cold. I definitely use this in the future. But when it's spring and it's lots of warm, wet days, or just warm, windy days, and it's barely below freezing or it's above freezing, this thing's the way to go. Pillow, I got desperate and I sent it home in Kvikjok. No replacement. I actually sent home the brush because around like mid-April, when I was in Kvikjok, the days were so warm and long, and the sun is out so often, even when it's overcast. The buildup of snow and ice on your clothes isn't really a problem anymore. And like I said, mild year, so I sent this home, and I didn't regret it. But normally, if you have a small, lighter brush, I'd say keep it. But I was getting desperate. I sent home some things I probably shouldn't have. But yeah, still normally carry a brush. Windsack, went over before, mild winter. If I was two people, I would have kept it, but I was alone most of the time, so sent it home. Get to that later. This did not go home, these stayed with me. Long skins, I sent home because my sled at that point, when I sent these home, was so light that I figured I didn't need them, and I was right. I only put the short skins on a couple of times for very long, slight hills, and quite often I would just either walk up with, I'd take the skis up off and walk, or I would just scissor up with the skis, so you walk like that, or I'd just use the scales on them. With such light loads and good snow, the scales were fine most of the time. But in deep winter, when the snow is loose and powdery quite often, definitely keep the long skins. They're not that heavy, but they really come in handy when you need them. When the snow is bad and the hill is long and steep, really good. Again, warm, wet winter, heavy salopettes for cold weather, and dry, cold snow. Not very good. I replaced these. I replaced this with this. So this is just a pair of cheap rain pants I got. My depot box to Hemavan, the southern start of Kungsleden, didn't show up because Easter got the post to stop, and I would have had to wait there, I think, 5 days for it to show up, and I couldn't justify waiting that long, spending money in town, and I just felt the time pressure really creeping up on me. I have a pair of Outdoor Research Foray rain pants, which I love and I've used before. This is a new pair I got from them on warranty. Full length, 3/4 zips on the outside, so I can get my boots in. I've used them in the winter before. They're great, especially for rain. But they were in the box. Box didn't show up, so I sent these home, and I bought this cheap pair of rain pants for like 500 crowns. I wish they were cheaper because they cost as much as my really nice Outdoor Research pants, and these are kind of crap. But when it was windy and wet, or windy or wet, or both, I wore these. I was fine. These, they're quite a bit of condensation buildup inside from sweat, but they worked fine, and they kept me dry when it was raining a couple times, so they were fine, and they're small. So, I really noticed when I sent the pants home how much space I had in the sled, because I kept these in the IKEA bag, and once I switched over to these, then so much space suddenly was freed up, so it made packing in the morning a lot quicker too. I sent home the fuel bottles. First one because I realized how little fuel I was using, and then the second one because, again, using very little fuel, and often between refills, there's usually a half-empty fuel bottle at stations you can just kind of top up with. And then on Kungsland, there's so many cabins you can use the gas stoves in. So I was using very little fuel, pretty much ever. So sent these home, sent this home. I don't have it in the pile, but the Gore Windstopper Balaclava, I got that, so I sent this home. I wasn't using it anymore. Sent the big Nalgene home because, again, just desperation and weight. And most of the time, the days I wasn't skiing long enough, so I didn't need 2.5 liters of water. 1.5 was fine. And with the boiling water in the thermos, I could pour that in the cup or in a water bottle, add snow, and I'd get, like, you know, cold or lukewarm water and a lot more of it too. So 1 liter of boiling water makes like 1.5 liters of lukewarm, like 1.7 maybe cold. So yeah, you can do that. So yeah, takes a decent bit of space and weighs like 180 plus like another 80. So it's called like a bit under 300 grams, so a bit of weight. It's bulky. And I replaced that with these, just regular juice and soda bottles. So, and the nice part about this long, warm, wet winter has been there's been lots of open streams everywhere. So I haven't had to melt too much snow after like April, like mid-April, mid-March, early April. From then on, there was very rarely a day I didn't have a chance to fill up my water, even above the tree line where normally it's frozen solid till late April, early May. So spring came a month early, and benefit of that is being able to fill up on bottles. And then there's another bottle somewhere out there, but yeah. At the end, I had 6 liters capacity for water, so I'd fill up every other day. And there's only one time I didn't find water for 2 days, and I was about to get up my stove and melt some snow, but then I saw a creek and I filled up. So yeah, it's less weight efficient, but it's really nice not having to spend all the time melting snow in camp. So I really appreciate that. Sure, it's a weight penalty of a couple kilos carrying, 6 liters of water, but the sled was so empty at that point, it didn't really make much of a difference, and the snow was almost always really good. So when the sled had no water or 6 kilos of water, I didn't notice the difference. So that really says how good the surface was. So regular PET bottles, when it's barely cold or above freezing, it's fine. Now this was a very nice little innovation. The Water Retriever 9000 Mark II. So take a bottle, regular soap, like Sprite bottle, or Coca-Cola bottle. There you go. It's not green, so it's not Sprite. Took a lighter, burned 2 holes in the side, ran the little cord I have through it. I'd put a little bit of water, maybe about that much, in the bottom, or snow. I'd find a creek where the sides are too steep or it's too deep, and I don't want to climb down because it's a little. I don't want to fall in there. I can't. If it's an easy access source, you can climb down in boots or skis. But sometimes it's nicer not having to go down and risk falling into a stream and getting sucked under. Not fun drowning and freezing to death at the same time. So take this, fill with water, toss in, fill it up, pour over to other bottles. Super convenient. Sometimes the holes would be 3-4 meters deep under the snow, so this wouldn't reach. So I'd put this on the end of the ski pole and then I'd toss it in and then fish it up. So it's a good 4 or 5 meters down, and being able to fish it up like that, being able to access what should be inaccessible water, is really convenient. So in the future, definitely need to be carrying this or a slightly improved version, the Water Retriever 9000 Mark III. The Mark II is good. The Mark I is pretty bad, but this works fine. If I ever do meet the Bandet again, shoes. Bring your shoes. From Greve to Hemavan, there's a lot of road walking, and my ski boots are terrible for walking in. The sole has 0 flex to it. The top and like the upper around the toe will flex, so like that, but there's no movement in the sole at all. They're solid plastic, which is great when you're skiing, but horrible for walking. Like more than 3-4 kilometers in those, and I could feel the pain in my arches starting, and I had to do, I don't know probably more than 100 kilometers of road walking in the first half of the trip. It was really awful. When I got to Storlien, I went into Östersund to try getting a little cart for my kayak, like a kayak dolly, or a kayak dolly for the Pulka, but didn't quite work out. I need 2 of them. If I do this again, or Nordia Polangs, I'd want to make a little like 4-wheeled cart that I could screw together to be stable, because putting on this sled with just 2 wheels on 1 axle, not stable enough. I didn't trust it, so I ended up not using it. And I got lucky. There came a lot of snow after that. But still, lots of road walking. So when I went to Östersund, I got myself a pair of these. I wanted a pair of Salomon X Ultra 3s, or Speed Cross. Not Speed Cross, XA Pro. There you go. I've used them before and they fit me and they're comfortable, but they're out of stock in my size. So these are Merrell Moabs. They're fine, no complaints about them. Pretty waterproof and really comfortable walking on roads. Look, they bend. There's flex in them. The other ones, they don't move. You can't do this. You can do this. These ones you can like bend in half. So happy I bought these, and then I sent them home from Ammanes when there's no more road walking after that. And after that, all the roads that we crossed were completely snow-free. So when I was walking on roads, it was snow, but it's a little bit of gravel, so you can't ski on the road, so you have to walk on it. The ditches, like the snow plow up the sides, also has little gravel and stones in it, and the snow on the sides of that is really deep, so skiing in is slow and painful. So you take the road walk, and that's why the runners on the sled are so worn down. So good to have for the southern half of Vita Bandet. Northern half, not necessary. And wow, my voice is cracking. I do not normally talk this much. I don't know where the other one is, but these are the socks I bought in Funäsdalen. It's Devold. They're pretty snug. They fit me well. The socks I normally have when I sleep in, I normally have on me when I sleep. They're too big and they'd slide down off my feet and be kind of uncomfortable, especially walking around in the down booties. So I started wearing these instead. Comfortable. Stick with them. I carried a saw for a decent while when my friend Paul joined me in Olden until Ammanes when I sent them home, along with some other stuff I just wasn't using. It's a Bako Laplander. I didn't end up making many fires, or like none outside, just getting wood to use wood stoves and cabins. So it came in handy a couple times. And also if you're digging bivouacs, be able to make a nice entrance, cutting big snow blocks. It's pretty nice. But after Ammanes, then you're above the tree line more, or after Hemavan, actually, you're above the tree line more often than you are below it. So it stopped being worth the wait, for me at least. So maybe I'd carry it again in the future if I was using a less bulky tent than this, just in case my tent got destroyed or there's sufficiently bad weather, I want to dig a snow cave, then I'd stick with this. But if you're using a bunker like the Charon, then overkill. This is the only extra I have left that's still intact. This is an extra basket for the ski poles. I definitely want to carry one of these in the future. Paul got 2 pairs of them, one for his poles, one for mine. Both of his got destroyed, so they last less. The first pair lasted less than a month, and the second pair lasted less than a month. So really terrible design from Olsnes. Luckily, he gave me his extra basket that survived, so I have a spare, even though one of mine is damaged, but the pole's destroyed, so yeah, not going to use these in the future, ever. Getting new poles before next winter. Extra boot liners from the old pair of Lundhog's boots I have. So these were really nice when my other pair got soaked, and I would carry these in that IKEA pack pod. It's somewhere, but yeah. Carry a spare pair of these. They're not that heavy, and if my boots got properly soaked, it's really nice to know I have these as a spare, especially with the amount of wet snow we had towards the end. Knowing that if I cross a stream and sink through again to my thighs or waist or something horrible, I have a way to dry to get a lot of moisture out of my boots pretty quickly. Alright, and now here we have the biggest weight reduction. So I went from this, carrying like 1 liter fuel bottle with a liter of fuel, plywood. The plywood's like 300 grams. Nice multi-fuel stove, you know, solid, big aluminum windscreen, 100-gram pump, you know, quality stuff that'll last you forever. I went from that to a piece of cardboard. I used the 230-gram gas container, but it's not here with me, so I had this as a stand-in. So, Primus gas, and an MSR Pocket Rocket 2. So, a little bit of a difference. Yeah, I don't know the exact weight, but it's obviously a huge difference. I kept the pots because I wasn't sure if I'd have to melt snow, and melting snow in a small pot wouldn't be very fun. And it's 182 grams for the big one, so it's worth it. It's not that bulky, and I had space. So I used the cardboard as a under for the stove, for the fuel, that, and then I could, when I was done melting snow or like heating up water, because I didn't really have to melt snow in the last month or so, I'd move this to the side, and I'd have my food pot here, cup. So it was a nice little table. It got a little damp, but honestly, it's fine. It's like I use this for Mittens to Toiletries. So like a solid 3 weeks, and some of those days are pretty wet. No problem at all. Honestly, I might just bring some cardboard with me in the winter, in the future, just to have like more dry, slightly insulated surface area. I mean, if homeless people sleep on cardboard, it's good enough. It's good enough for, you know, just like putting down something to eat. Yeah, well, totally viable solution for stupid light at the end. Quality of life change. I went from the Sodoma glove line, thin liners, to Outdoor Research PL base sensor gloves. Recommended to me by Aaron Linsdau, nice polar adventure YouTube guy. Super, honestly, go subscribe to Aaron Linsdau right now. He's a cool dude. He deserves more subscribers. These are really great. It's a synthetic glove. They're really comfortable. I actually bought a pair that was too big for me to begin with, and I gave them to Paul, or sold them to Paul rather. I got this size slightly smaller. They fit me perfectly. There's touchscreen sensors on the index and thumb, but they're not that great. Maybe like something easy like taking a picture or changing audiobooks or songs. But for something like, you know, typing or checking out something on the map, it's easier to just take them off and do it quickly than to muck around for 5 minutes. Synthetic, they're snug, they dry quick, they're fairly elastic, and even after, like, you know, a month and a half, almost 2 months of use, they're perfect shape. There's like one tiny little like thread or a bit of the sensor pulled off, but under the sensor there's more of the actual material, so they'll be fine. Really good stuff. I'll probably use these as my like only gloves now that it's summertime. But in the fall and spring, or when I'm above the tree line, I'll stick with the windstopper fleece gloves. Those are really good. But quite a few days I wore these, and they fit really well under my mittens. All right, and now the big one. Oh, actually, one thing Paul picked up for me when I asked, and he joined me in Olden, was a cross-country wax scraper. So cross-country skiers will like wax their skis and use plastic to scrape off the old one and put a new layer on, or, you know, spread it out. I had a lot of problems with snow building up on the undersides of my skis and sled, especially when it was just like -2, -1 and sunny. Sun melts, like, it makes the snow supple. The sled is chilled from the air, and when you ski over, it would stick to it, and it would just be horrible. The skis would have this much snow building up under them. The sled would be like, you know, 20 centimeters wider, and it would be dragging this much snow underneath it on the front. It was just terrible. So in the beginning, I was using the brush or like the back of my knife or anything I had on hand to scrape off the snow. It was really horrible and inefficient. I asked Paul to pick up one of these, and he almost didn't, and we both would have been very sad if he hadn't, because this was really nice to be able to just quickly scrape the skis clear, and also the bottom of the sleds and whatnot. And I had this in my fanny pack most of March and like into April, and then around like early mid-April, the snow started getting pretty good most of the time. So I put it in the IKEA bag, and only need to use a couple times. But for March, this was really essential. Just something to scrape your skis with that won't scratch the ski and can get the snow off quick and easy. Get it? All right, last one. I went from this, so the like almost like over 4 kilos of tent, you know, pure bunker, and the big tent condom and the peg bag. I went from that to this, to a 500-gram pyramid tent. So it's a little bit of weight savings right there. I'm really happy I had this. I had some really horrible weather that I think this tent would have survived it, but it would have been a really horrible night, and it would have been really tough to set up, and it would not have been fun. But once we got into April and May, really happy I switched to this. It was really nice. I really noticed the weight the weight loss when I sent the tent home, along with a bunch of other stuff. Yeah, this tent. This is a Mountain Lowell Designs Duomid in Dyneema Cuban fiber. I use it 8 months a year, I guess, here in Sweden, in northern Sweden rather. I've tried it winter before, and I was like, it's livable, but I wouldn't want to do it long term, and I would not want to use this in snow long term. This is a dirt and grass and gravel tent. This is not a snow tent. People can say it's a snow tent, but I'm telling you, it's not. A floorless shelter for winter might be doable for some people, but for me, it's a little too small for me in winter. And the fact that there's no like integrated floor into it really meant just, you know, you're hemmed in on both sides by snow when you dig out. So, you know, it's like you can sit up easily. There's a good headroom, but there's not a wide enough area in the bottom for it. It's faster to set up than this, but in heavy winds, wouldn't want to do this. This wouldn't be fun. But for 3 weeks in May and April, when it's light around the clock and not very cold, worth. This only needs 8 pegs, so I sent home the 2 wood pegs and the 1 extra Hilleberg peg. So then I had 5 of these, 2 skis, 1 pole, and then the second ski pole I would use in the middle of the tent as like the center pole for it. I also sent home the extra repair splint for the Hilleberg tent. I grabbed my summer pegs. I figured if there's a nice patch of bare ground, I'd set up on that instead, but every time I made camp, there was no bare ground, so I ended up not using these. But yeah, just summer Swiss Piranha RT 120s, plastic pegs, 6 grams each, good stuff. I had my Polycro with me as well, a little ground cloth, but I realized I didn't need that because I have the Arctic bedding as a ground cloth. It's big and bulky, but I kept it because it's convenient. I considered switching to my summer quilt, but or my down quilt from 20 Fahrenheit -6C, but I'm very happy I didn't. It was a cold snap in early May that would have been very long, unpleasant night, so I'm happy I kept the down bag. But one thing I picked up, I used the ski pole as the center pole for the tent 2 nights, and both times I realized immediately, this is bad. All the pressure of the tent on the snow basket is really not good. I could see how much stress it was putting on there, and I was just trying to think of something I could use to help spread that surface area. It was the Selka cabin on Kungsleden. I went through the woodshed and I found a piece of big birch bark, and I used my knife, I drilled a hole in it, and I put this under the ski pole so it would help spread out the surface area, and use this every day. It's fine. Just cheap and basic. You could use a piece of wood, but I figured this would work, and it worked fine. Regular birch bark, no, but this still has like the the middle bark of the tree on the inside, so it's a little tougher. It doesn't really flex much. This was bowed out the other way before. Now it's bowed that way, so obviously it's taken some strain, but it works fine. What else? There's a couple small items I'm forgetting. I sent home the chair for the sleeping pad. I wish I'd kept that. Really wish I'd kept that. That was just in a fit of desperation. I was sending home everything I didn't need. I sent home this tent before I got this one because there were cabins I could sleep in. But I ended up cowboy camping every night. It was beautiful. It was honestly like I think the nicest week I've had skiing ever. Just a week. I went through almost all my sunscreen. I sent home my Mura knife, the one that lives on my belt, because it was so consistently warm and the weather was so nice most of the time that I didn't really have much ice buildup in the binding, so I didn't have to clear it all the time. So having that easy access knife wasn't needed. It happened, a couple times there was some buildup, but I'd take the ski pole and chip with it. And sometimes, if I couldn't reach in the deepest binding, I'd take the multi-tool out, open the knife, and just like clear it. Not during the day, wasn't often, but in the mornings or in the evenings before I went to sleep or before I started in the morning, I'd clear out like the little jams because the little balls of ice can get bigger as they build up. More than that, it's hard to say. There's so many small, tiny little niche items that I wish I'd had, or I wish I had something different. I definitely will not be using this again solo in winter. I didn't have any other option. For 2 people, it's perfect. It's just the right size. You fit your equipment. The GT vestibule is nice, but if you've got your equipment pretty minimal, and you don't bring everything into the tent every night, it's not really needed. So the Caron 3 is fine. The GT is an overkill. It's good, but it's fine. I wish I had something like a Kaitum 2. It's like 2.5 kilos, so it's 1.5 kilos lighter than this, which is great. And I consider that weight worth it. This is not acceptable for February for me. You could use it. You could totally use it. But livability for me, it's just not good enough. And there's not really the option of using a second person. I know people have done like the PCT in winter with this, and I don't get how they did it. It's even like 2 weeks in this, not even full time, just 2 weeks part time in this, not livable. Was barely livable for me. Maybe I'm just doing something wrong, but I found it was so hard to get the sides of the tent properly closed off without putting in like an extra 20 minutes of work setting up, which I'm sure you can do, but I wasn't feeling it. Living in this for 90 days, no way. Carrying this for 90 days, no way. So something between these two. That's like the biggest takeaway is just pick a tent that's light but strong and has an inner tent. That would be good. More than that, like rain and wind gear. Using the Arc'teryx Beta AR when it's just windy but it's not snowing or raining sucks. Using the cotton jacket when it's raining or like wet snow and it's not windy sucks. Just the wind jacket, I'll probably carry that in the future just because it's good for me, who's usually so warm. I'll wear just that, nothing under it, or maybe my base layer, and be fine in -10 if it's like a mild breeze. Like I'm very, very warm. It's honestly a bit of a hassle most of the time, just constantly sweating and having to take off layers. Yeah. So for jacket, I'd like something like ETA-proof cotton, or I don't know. I'm trying to find something that's very, very breathable and somewhat waterproof, and then maybe I'll wear like a cheap rain poncho over that. I found one in a cabin and I wore that on the worst wet day of the whole trip. It was just pouring rain all day. Paul and I were just miserable, and I found like a €1 German disposable poncho in a cabin. Like, yeah, sure, why not? And I wore that shirtless most of the day because it was just +5 and pouring rain. It was horrible. And that's also the day I really realized how useless the Arctic bedding is if it's not waterproof. So, yeah, something that's light, very water resistant. It doesn't have to be totally waterproof. I'll carry a cheap rain poncho in the future. If it's raining, chances are you're below the tree line and it's not too windy. And worst case scenario, it's just kind of a pain in the butt trying to get the poncho to sit right, but you don't need it that often, so it doesn't have to be durable. But waterproof Arctic bedding, and maybe a DIY synthetic overbag. So tent, slightly better stove setup, better rain and wind jacket, and waterproof Arctic bedding, along with a solar panel. I have one, but it's small. It's like 7 watts. It's too small for it to really be useful. Something a little bit bigger, for from mid-March onwards would be really nice. I'm planning to do this video between Toiletries and Pulk, but I didn't have enough battery. I finished the trip with 3% on my phone. I took a photo and then my phone died. But having a solar panel in the spring would be really nice. Just having to not ration your battery usage at all. Carry one 10,000 milliamp hour battery pack, and I don't know, like a 300-gram solar panel. Yeah, do that in the future. Just gotta find one that works and just jump on that. Something cheap from AliExpress. It doesn't have to last forever, just a couple years. Slightly lighter shovel. But more than that, I feel the equipment you can use is really up to you. I mean, the people who did the trip, Bandet, did it, and I think I talked to them in the first like 2-3 days, and they were using wooden Seiko-5 sleds that weighed 10 kilos each, and I think their sleds were like 45 kilos without food or fuel. It's like 45 kilo base weight, which is really heavy. And they finished way before me. They took a better route, so a shorter route, and they avoided the really bad section I did when I had no one making trails and rain and crappy snow, just horrible conditions. But still, like, you know, I trained really hard for this trip, and you know, they had heavier equipment before than me, but they finished before me. So my body is crap. It like my hips, my knees, my feet, everything just fails on me. It's excuses, sure, but you know, hike your own hike, ski your own ski. And I mean, like, I was really minimal in terms of luxury items. In the beginning, I'd probably send it home maybe mid to late March, but in February, a frying pan would have been really nice, being able to make some luxury foods. There's lots. The nights are long, the days are short. You have lots of time in your tent and cabins. So a frying pan for meatballs, hash browns, making quesadillas, pancakes, that would have been really good. Because like my setup, it's just for rehydrating food. That's it. Cooking is just boiling stuff that's not finished cooking, not finished rehydrating. So yeah, small frying pan that nests with my stove setup. It's big enough to like make a pancake and flip it. So then ultralight spatula too. I don't know what else. There's so much to think about, and but it was this was a really bad year. This was a terrible year. The winter was awful. I've had 3 winters in northern Sweden. This was easily the worst. Just rain, warm temps, like no snow on the roads. So dragging the sled is just, you hear the crunch of gravel consistently. You're walking for hours without skis on. You know, that's not how this trip's supposed to go. This trip's supposed to go, you put your skis on and you pretty much only take them off to sleep for 2-3 months. So it's a bad year, but at the same time, you know, like half the people didn't finish the trip. Like 22 signed up and 12 finished, so a little bit more than half. But at the same time, you know, finishing on a year like this, it's a good experience. I started 3rd, I think, and I finished last. But you know, I took my time. I wasn't in any rush, and I finished. I wouldn't have minded taking extra, like, I think 8 days. Lena Hadabot has the record for slowest Vita Bandet at 97 days. I finished in 89. So taking an extra, you know, 10 days. No, she finished in 97. Yeah, and I had 89. So take an extra like 9 days of food, or you know, at that point might as well take an extra 11 days of food, or just, you know, take an extra rest day here or there, done a couple side trips, and just give myself an even nice 100 days. So for like, now I hold the record for slowest. Well, it would have been fun. My friend Paul has the record for the longest get on a Bandet, 1,800 something kilometers. So it'd be nice if us 2 friends had the record for longest and furthest distance for the Vita and Gröna. But yeah, in terms of equipment, that's all I can think of for what, or all I can think of now at least, for things I shouldn't have brought, things I should have brought, things I should have done differently. But if I was going to do this again, I want to make it a bit, a bit harder for myself, a bit more fun, because this year wasn't hard enough. So I'd want to do something no one else has done before. Maybe like start in a Thermos on New Year's Day or something. So do it in the dark for the first couple of weeks. You're starting way north of the Arctic. You're starting a decent bit north of the Arctic Circle on New Year's. So it's technically, you're doing it that year. So 2023 or 2024, whatever. But yeah, and then going south from there. So you finish your trip by the time some people are starting. So it's interesting to, have that experience of doing this trip in the dark and getting, and if you're starting in January, you're guaranteeing, and in the north, you're guaranteeing yourself some proper winter. The coldest I had was -32. I wouldn't mind a solid week of -30, just for the fun of it. I've been in cold before; it's fun. All you need is nice boots, nice gloves, and warm thoughts, and that'll see you through. But yeah, it was a good trip, and I'm really happy I took the time out of my life to plan for this. All the money I spent on my equipment, all the money I spent on food, and then all the hours and hours of sweat I've poured into sweat and many screamed swears at the sky and screamed swears at the snow, just hoping for better conditions. I don't regret any of it, except Jämtland. Never again. Jämtland, it's getting a straight line through it. Anyone tells you to take detours in Jämtland, don't listen to them. Just go through it. It's never worth it. This was a good trip. I learned a lot. I learned what you need, and that 40, almost 50 kilometers in a day. Yeah, I can do that. If you told me that year, like 5 years ago, that I could drag a 30, almost 40 kilo sled for a marathon and a half in a day on skis, I would have just laughed. Like, that's not me. But here I am. It's a bit of a learning curve, but a couple of years of experience, and then months living out constantly with your equipment every day in very changing conditions and changing environments. You learn a lot. So if you're thinking about doing a long ski trip, if you're thinking about Vita Bandet or Nordia på Langs or Hardangervidda or Kungsleden or anything, just do it. You might be cold at some point. You might be wet. You might be miserable. You'll probably be hungry. You'll definitely be hungry by the end. It's worth it. Take the time. Spend the money. Borrow equipment from your friends. Use 3 sleeping bags and a wool blanket like I did on my first winter trip I ever did. I didn't know if I wanted to do this, but it's worth it. It's skiing out in the spending days and days where you see nothing, except maybe a couple birds, no people, no snowmobile tracks, no nothing. Not a plant in sight, not a tree, nothing but mountains in the distance and snow under your feet. It's a really wonderful experience. And if you're just used to summer hiking and camping and going in the forest, being in the tree line and seeing the aurora at night, even if this was a really bad year for it, it's a really, I'd go so far as saying it's a life-changing experience. It's a really wonderful sensation. I'm a city boy. I grew up in New York, so that I spent so much time and energy thinking about all these things, and all that time out in the mountains. It's really changed who I am. So, if this has helped or inspired you in any way, please let me know. Knowing that I've helped someone else really get out there and live their life out in the mountains would mean a lot to me. So, thanks for taking the time and listening to my rambling about all this. And I wish you all long days, pleasant nights, and happy travels. Take care.